Well, what's going on, Rebel family? This is working out. Struggle streaming already. Oh, okay, Rebel family. Had some little technical difficulties there, real quick, but we got it taken care of. So I want to take a look at what's been going on here in the YouTube streets, in particular with Hafeez Baoku from the Roommates podcast. He's been in a couple several debates over the past week or so, and things did not go well for him. And he's shown a lot of inconsistencies, hypocrisies. He's made a bunch of statements that absolutely right out doesn't make any kind of sense. I'm not going to spend a lot of time debating who won the debates. So I guess the first one that I was aware of, he was on, I guess the Valuetainment podcast or Valuetainment YouTube channel, and it was a debate. Well, he was invited, and there were several other guests on there. The host, and then some chick who's a mother, wife, OnlyFans porn star chick, Ali Ray or something. I can't remember her name, but she's not. I mean, she's not the subject of what I want to talk about. But anyway, so the main two people that were kind of going back and forth on the podcast was Coach Greg Adams and Hafiz Baku, and the debate title, the title of the live stream was "Is Marriage Worth It?" So they kind of wanted to kind of go back and forth with is marriage is it worth being married to in today's age? So that's the first debate. Second, or not necessarily debate, if you want to, will, whatever. Anyway, second one was with Just Pearly Things. She has a YouTube channel. It's called Just Pearly Things, and those are the two debates that uh, you see on the thumbnail. Those are the two people that I had on the thumbnail here. He also had another interview with back on Valuetainment in the past week or so, 10 days, and I guess he's trying to make a pivot in terms of his ideologies or his YouTube content. Because he's recently gotten married. He stated on the debates that he's married now. He's been married for like a year, but so I want to take a look at some of the things. And again, the fanboyism came out in Hafiz. I did a live stream a year ago or so, and I did a live stream a year ago, and I talking about brothers stop being fanboys, and he was one of the subjects of that particular live stream because I just thought that being a fanboy is not healthy, or just being a fan. You shouldn't be a fan. Brothers should not be fans of other men. We should admire their skill level if they have, certain skill. If it's Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, um, boxing, Floyd Mayweather, Canelo Alvarez, whoever it is. We see that brothers get into the they have to pick their camps, and no matter what empirical evidence tells you, you have to stay true to your fandom or your object of your fandom. So, and I'm going to jump into I just want to give some background of why I said brothers shouldn't be fanboys or fans of other men. Respect their skill level, respect their hard work, respect their mentality, but when you're not a fan, you're able to be objective. So like the GOAT debate between LeBron James and Michael Jordan, it's clear anybody that looks at the empirical evidence. I mean, any way you want to count it, except for longevity stats. And when I mean longevity stats, um, meaning how long you played in a league, how long you played in the league. So LeBron James he's expected to surpass Kareem Abdul-Jabbar all-time scoring record, but he's been in the league for 20 years. So yes, over longevity, that's a longevity stat. So yes, you can accumulate that. But out of 20 years, he's only won 4 titles, and in 13 years, Michael Jordan won 6. It's just so many empirical evidence things that the GOAT debate is literally over, and there probably will never be someone that is able to do the things that Michael Jordan did in his time in the NBA. Nobody comes close. And you can add it up, advanced stats, metrics, titles, awards, accolades. All those things. Michael Jordan is at the top, or in the top one, two, three of all of those things, except for longevity stats, of course. But anyway, so same thing with boxing. It's clear who's all time the greatest, boxer. It's not even close as Floyd Mayweather. Just being objective, and you can have your issues with Floyd in or out of the ring, whatever it is. But based on his resume and things that, not just him being 50-0, never lost or any of that kind of stuff, but that's part of it. Money made, that's part of it. I mean, you look at every factor. He's above Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali. No matter how much we love Muhammad Ali and what he did in and out of the ring, you know, Muhammad Ali, he lost the first fight of the century between he and Joe Frazier. So, but I'm not gonna get into it. Like I said, I have a live stream. I'll link that in the description. You can look at the live stream, and I kind of broke it down, like people talking about Bruce Lee versus when Michael Jai White said he could beat Bruce Lee. Fanboys will say no, Bruce Lee can win when there's clear there's weight classes for a reason. Size matters, right? So I look at the debate between Hafeez and Coach Greg Adams in that similar fashion. There's this adage in boxing that says a good big man, will always beat the good smaller man. Um, that the naturally bigger guy, all things being equal, the naturally bigger guy will always beat the naturally smaller guy. Well, in this case, the older guy with more wisdom is more likely to beat the younger guy with less wisdom in an intellectual debate on average. And it was clear in this debate that's how it was. It was one guy talking theory. Basically, he's talking theory. He never experienced the stuff that he's talking about. Had only been married for 1 year. Doesn't have children, so he'll talk all this father stuff. But it's very different seeing how your father operates, as opposed to once you take on that responsibility and that mantle of being a father. It's very different. I can talk about what my father did or didn't do. I could talk about what my father did or didn't do, and then it's very different thing once I became a father. So, um, so he was talking all theory. Coach Greg was talking experience, and he was talking experience, and then also Hafeez was very emotional, and Coach Greg wasn't. So it was clear. It started off. It was very clear, and I'm going to go through some of that just so you can see how the debate went. I encourage you to go take a look at it if you can stomach it, because it got really cringy at times. I'm going to go over the Just Pearly things as well, and how cringy that was. That was even worse, because Hafeez spent all this time talking about how he wants to protect women, and men should protect women, and all of his advice, if he gives men advice, it should benefit women, and the advice that he gives men, it should benefit women and have a balanced approach. And then he goes on a woman's YouTube channel and is interviewing, and he's way overly emotional and aggressive to a woman, and in a few places she actually had to say he's rude, he's disrespectful, he's cutting her off. She actually said these things during the interview, and it's like, wow, she actually had purchased some time to speak with him, a coaching session from him some years back, 3 years ago, that she actually purchased coaching from him. So I think she kind of, it's kind of that thing of never meet your idols. Never meet when people say they like a lot of people who said, "Okay, I met Michael Jordan and I couldn't stand him." Well, you idolized him, and then when you met him, he wasn't really what you thought because you had put him on this pedestal. And I'm not saying that she did that with Hafeez, but I think she was really surprised at how rude he was in that particular interview. But anyway, so I selected some clips. I just wanted you to see how the debate is going, and then I'm going to jump into where I believe Hafeez and the fanboy. Um, he has a fanboy problem, and some of his contradictions and hypocrisies are so glaring that it is not even funny, and I'll give my theory as to why. But let's jump right into the first clip here.
I hope I don't mean to offend you. There's no God in marriage in the United States. So that's kind of misleading. And people will find that out if your marriage is destroyed. You go back to your pastor and you say, hey, my marriage is being destroyed. He has no power over that because it is a state agreement. So I will bring you back to make sure you understand. And I counsel men. There's no God in marriage. That's been gone. Listen, it was an old idea. It's absolutely gone unless you live in an American South.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. Hold on. I got to.
And even young women listening at home to be like,
that was the wrong clip.
I want the young men and even young women listening at home to be like, got it, Ali, boom, boom, Natalia.
Now, this is Adam, the host of Valuetainment. He asked a question. He asked each guest, and including his producer, what are the top 3 reasons for divorce? In your mind, what are the top 3 reasons for divorce? And the producer who wasn't married, he said for breaking up. And now he asked the women first. Now he's asking the men, starting with Coach Greg.
Cool, makes sense. All right, Coach. And then Hafeez, flip it on us, right? Because we established the fact that 70 to 80% of marriages, relationships, the woman initiates a divorce or a breakup. But oftentimes, sometimes a man will initiate a breakup. Sure. From your perspective, what are the top 3 reasons men end a relationship with their women?
I would say number 1, lack of respect. So that goes to, like I said, men want to feel loved, but oftentimes are the giver of love, and nobody really not a lot of people focus on men receiving. So if there's a lack of respect, he may pull the trigger on that one if it feels like he's going to lose. He's not going to lose his children, right? So that would be reason number 1. I would say lack of intimacy. People can say sex, but she can lie there like a Carl's Jr. star, and he can pump her 5 strokes. It don't mean that he got sex from her. You know what I mean? Most of the prostitution-oriented sex is in marriage. But with that being said, if he does get a couple of pity duty sexes out of his wife, doesn't mean he got anything.
So you're saying that there's a difference between sex and intimacy.
Absolutely. Intimacy. I mean, guys are looking for intimacy, and sometimes it's better to pay somebody for some intimacy than to get it from your own wife. A lot of marriages are going on right now because he's paying for intimacy somewhere else. But with that being said, if he's not getting intimacy and respect from his wife, he gonna leave if it doesn't hurt him financially.
Got it. And then third?
I would say
you said respect, sex / intimacy.
Yeah, I would say obviously then the kids. I mean, there's going to be something associated with the kids. If he knows he can keep a relationship with his children, aka she screwed up and he can get up out of there, and he can use that as leverage to make sure he doesn't lose time with his kids, then he'll pull the trigger. Yeah,
got it. Okay.
Yeah. So Coach was spot on with those 3, or at least the 2. I don't know necessarily what he meant by the kids, because there had to be something to precipitate it. Because if you're getting respect and you're getting intimacy / sex, then you wouldn't necessarily just leave because of something with the kids. So I didn't really understand that. But the first 2, spot on, 100% agree with him, except for obviously for me, paying for sex or whatever from a prostitute because he did state that, or at least that's what a lot of men are doing to get that or whatever. Anyway, you guys know I'm Muslim, so you know what our stance on that. Anyway,
Go ahead, Afis.
Yeah, I want to take a little differently because there's nothing that I'm going to add to it that Coach Greg Adams hasn't shared. I think I agree with it. The third one may hit or miss, but here's what
damn, we kind of agreed, and I didn't even necessarily know that we were going to agree there when he said the third one is kind of hit and miss because I didn't understand it.
here's the nuance I think is lacking in the conversation, especially to the young guys who kind of consume this kind of content. There's always truths in what people say. Like you say a lot of things that are true, but if you end the sentence there, it's not going to benefit people's lives. And so to me, I think one of the fundamental challenges is when you come at things from a perspective of things are going to fail. When you come at things from a perspective as worst case scenario. Like, so there's this interesting, I won't get too lost in the sauce, but there's this interesting TV show where this guy he spent an hour watching the worst events in humanity. The worst murders, the worst rapes, the worst thefts. He saw the worst in humanity for an hour. After watching the worst in humanity for an hour, how do you think he felt about humans, Adam?
Yeah, obviously he was just
Probably felt like
not
crap.
feeling
He
so
probably
good. Yeah,
felt
of
really
course.
bad. So what happens so often in the marriage conversation, like I said, it's balance. Too many guys in the comments in this red pill world, they are consumed with the worst case scenario. And there's enough stories like that for days. He can spend 48 hours telling us every single worst case scenario, and he's only touching the tip of the iceberg of all the stories he's heard. There's enough information about the worst case scenario, about marriage, about divorce. Oh, she left me. And there's enough of that in this world. And so my biggest thing is that how does that make society better? Especially, I'm passionate about it, going back to like black community. The biggest issue that's plaguing the black community, when I ask Candace Owens on the right, if you can ask Dr. Eric Dice on the left, they'll tell you it's fatherlessness, broken families, not enough husbands and wives coming together, raising families. That's what's destroying the black community. That's what I'm passionate about.
Okay, let me say something right here. I want you to pay attention to Hafeez quoting people. He's quoting people that he quoted Candace Owens and he quoted Michael Eric Dyson, which he quoted him incorrectly. Michael Eric Dyson would never say that. He's never said that the biggest issue in the black community is broken families. He's always stated that is white supremacy. So he misquoted uh, Michael Eric Dyson there. But nonetheless, my point is he still quoted him and he's acting as if he's an authority on what's the problems in the black community and he has the solution. Keep that point in mind.
And so to me, the biggest thing is how is simply spending all day, keyword all day, majority of my day, hearing about the worst case scenario about marriage and divorce and alimony and getting screwed over. How is that going to help black men become better fathers? How is that going to help them become better husbands? How is that going to equip them with the tools needed to build healthy families and to create legacies of change? And so to me, that's one of the biggest reasons why some of the conversation to me is just boring. It's like, yo, like, okay, you have data, and then even some of the data is like 50% of marriages end in divorce. Is like, have we not looked up some of the most recent data? It's just like everything is biased, but it's biased to not lead to long-term success. And if we're honest about long-term success, a lot of this information is not it.
I got a question for you.
Oh, okay. So he has a problem with with them using stats and everything isn't about stats, but stats are very important, and yes, they do play a role in analyzing what's going on. But he does sound very much like he has the hope insurance going. He wants to sit back and hope because the stats are not in his favor. And even if he says the most recent stats, okay, are not 50%, the divorce rate is not 50%. It's 44 or 48 or whatever it is percent. Okay, it's still very high. Okay, so, and one of those reasons why is because people aren't getting married as much, especially if you're talking about the black community. So what stats exactly are you talking about? The black in the black community, we are getting married far less than any other community. So it's not about um, pointing out the worst, but it's pointing out reality. And see, he doesn't want to face reality and talk about it. You can't solve a problem unless you're real about the problem. But coach gets him on this part right here.
Do you have car insurance?
100%. I know where you're
All right.
going.
Do you have homeowners insurance?
100%.
Do you have life insurance?
100%.
Do you have medical insurance?
100%.
Did you get tired of your insurance agent talking about the possibilities of you losing your life and being rewarded? Hold on for a second. Hold on for a second. I know, but don't be a but person. Here's the deal. Here's the deal. Here's the deal. You have insurances, although it's a very uncomfortable situation, and life insurance people who sell it tend to be scumbags. They tend to be looked at as scumbags. Like, I don't want to have this conversation about me dying, but you surely will die. So you better have the conversation. The reality is, yes, it's a very tough conversation. I have to spend a lot of time talking about it. It's very difficult. However, there needs to be some insurance, and there's no insurance, and so we must talk about it.
Well, I don't want to put words in Hafeez's mouth. I'm going to let you answer this, but here's how I'm interpreting this. And believe me, I've made millions of dollars in the insurance world. All right, so
We love insurance.
I'm good.
We love
I'm
insurance
good on
over
that.
here.
Yeah. Ironically, I don't even sell insurance. I buy insurance off of people because they're sick of paying for their insurance. That's another conversation.
Because many times,
However,
they don't get anything from the insurance that they pay, right? But I don't want to put you out of business.
No,
I love insurance over here.
Life's good. You're not going to change anything.
Exactly.
But here's my point. And this is kind of Hafeez's point, is you're talking about you're going to die, you're getting in a car accident, your house is going to flood, you're going to flood. And he's like, stop talking about the negative shit. What Hafeez is saying, and I'll let you kind of go from here, is, well, let's talk about what happens if that doesn't happen. Let's hear some positive stories. Let's hear about the lovely home we're going to build, the amazing car we're going to drive in, the fact that my house isn't going to get blown away in a hurricane. And I understand what you're saying is like, yeah, brother, you can have the most beautiful house, you can have the most beautiful car, you can have the most beautiful life, but you do need some protection.
Just be fair.
So it's almost like a both. You need both.
But just to be fair, when two people enter into that agreement, that's what they talk about. They don't sit together talking about, hey, when we get divorced, they sit to talk about those things. So the conversation is being had, but it's almost between those two people. But when divorce happens, it happens in the court of public opinion, and it happens in the public court.
Yeah. So
Go ahead, Hafeez.
you asked me a question. That's why I was responding, because you asked me. I was going to respond to the question, but it is what it is. So remember, this is how you know.
And see that's one of the this is how this whole debate went. And anytime coach made a logical point, Hafiz, he came in pretty much with a chip on the shoulder, and he would react emotionally. You could tell he was triggered when coach asked him those questions, because the first thing he said was, he said, I think he asked, do you have car insurance? And then he said, yes, I know where you're going. Well, if you know where he's going and he's right, you have all these insurances. Why are you complaining about when coach is simply telling people, okay, if you're going to get married, have insurance, have leverage. That's all car insurance or health insurance is. If something bad happens, this is in case something happens, and that's what he's saying. In case divorce happens, if you decide to get married, have insurance. So if you don't have a problem with that, then why you have a problem with the red pill guys? Why? Because he's a newlywed. He just got married. He doesn't. He shouldn't have gone through the problems, but I suspect that he's gone through based on his personality. I would almost imagine that you know his wife is going to be tired of him talking, and it's only been a year. But I'm not wishing anything bad on him. It's just what I can see of him. Um, you know, someone who I can almost guarantee that he knows it all. Because he's young. I think he's only 32, but he acts as if he's he's seen all of the world. I mean, he's been married a year, doesn't have any children. I mean, your whole perspective changes once you have children, and then even as they age, they they're so different from when they're toddlers and young preteens or whatever, and then when they become teenagers, and then when they actually get out on their own, it's a whole different ball game. I mean, he has no clue about.
Oh, Adam, this is a true test. Ali, the top. If you want a true test to how someone views the world, see how balanced they are. right? So like, let's see somebody politically. The best people politically are people like Adam. They can go hard on the right and go hard on the left. They can see the good in the right, they can see the good in the left. They have a balanced perspective of both sides. When someone's only going hard here 24/7, you
Yeah.
notice a little bit of offness. Like when my biggest thing is I said balance. I didn't say far west emotional. I didn't say
Right.
far east logical. I said balance.
Correct.
My point is that if you're trying to tell somebody about buying a house, use a house example. Let's stay with the house example. If you're gonna sell somebody a house, because you know human beings need houses. Of course you're gonna add insurance to it. But this is how you're not gonna sell a house. Let me show you this beautiful house. Do you know
Okay, this is a straw man argument talking about when someone's selling a house that that you're not going to tell them all the bad things that's going to happen with the house. No, that's for the person who's selling you the insurance, man. You change the argument. Straw man argument
if your
here.
house burns down and you're inside of it, you're gonna die? Do you know that there's all these electricity problems? You know when a hurricane comes, your house is gonna
Yeah,
fall
you
down.
lose your commission if you sell it like that.
And if I'm trying to sell something to you and telling you every worst case scenario, hey Adam, come drive this Lamborghini. Do you know that Lamborghinis you can get in a crash, you can die? Do you know if you drive this certain speed, you're gonna like. It's
Yeah.
not either or, because this is what it blows my mind. I know how nihilistic these guys on the internet are, because they can't even tell the nuance. It's not either or, it's both.
Yeah.
I want you, please sit down with Coach and hear about the worst case scenario. Hear about how to protect yourself. Hear about the insurance. I want you to have that. But if all you're doing is watching him, I'm telling you, you're gonna be deceived, because all you're gonna be consumed about is the worst case scenario and the big bag boogeyman, aka the state, aka your woman screwing you over. You gotta hear the balance. You gotta hear the best of stories. And I remember Patrick Bet David, shout out to PBD, said, I would love to hear do a debate. On one end, people who've been married, happily married for 40 years, a
Yeah.
beautiful marriage, and then the guy who's been in the worst divorce in human history. And then let the people hear both of the stories. And that's what I'm talking about. There's also good. There's also good that happens. There's horrible, but there's good. We need to share both stories. And my biggest problem is when we spend all day long, most of our time, because there's a profit model in it. And I shared to my guys in the Standard the profit model in it. CNN doesn't share anything positive about Donald Trump. Why? Because you don't make money that way. If I'm doing content on internet, I don't make money talking about healthy marriages. Who wants to watch that crap? Know how to make money? Crazy delusional women screwing men of their money. Clicks, views, CPM through the roof. I know how it works. I can show you for days. I can pull up my analytics. I know how all this stuff works. And so my biggest thing is that if we're going to have a conversation, we need to have a holistic conversation for the benefit of men. If we are saying that what's wrong in society is too many men being raised without their father, I want every man, even the nihilistic red pill dudes in the comments, I want every single man to have an ability to raise his son in his home. That's how I was raised. That's why I was made the man I am today. I had an amazing father who was able to raise me in his home. I want every man to raise his son in his home. And I want to give you every tool possible to be able to have a healthy marriage, to be able to be a father who's present. And so my biggest thing is all we're talking about what's wrong, especially in the black community, all that's going to lead to is more single moms, more broken homes, and more of the same BS that's going on today. And to me, I'm sick of it. I want to move forward in society.
So
Okay.
I want the
Okay. So, all right. So, I just wanted to give you some perspective of how the debate was going, and also some of the things that he said. He talked about his father, and he wants everybody to have a father, and the fathers to raise their children, and so forth, and on and on. And this is how his father raised him. And to me, there was a lot of things revealed in these debates. I think, honestly, I think he has some bit of a resentment for his father, even though he said his father was great and he raised him to be the man that he is. First, he's very emotional. So your father raised an emotional man. I mean, it's very clear. And there's nothing wrong with being emotional. So don't take me saying that is something wrong. It's okay for men to have emotions. I said this before. Um, a lot of times on this channel that black men, we are sometimes not afforded the full range of emotions that other people are, including white men. We are the most shamed, that who hurt you, all this kind of stuff. We saw that play out with Kevin Samuels, and again, I'll keep saying it. The hate that Kevin Samuels received, it wasn't just about Kevin Samuels. He was just a proxy for all of us, black men. But the "who hurt you" comments, the you know just the shaming tactics and the shaming language altogether. So you can be emotional, but in certain regards, even if you're passionate about something, the message gets lost when you're being this emotional about it. And we're going to see even more of that, because some of it came off just downright rude. And I haven't even we haven't even got to the just Pearly stuff, and you're doing it with the woman, and she's holding more of a logical frame and more of a feminine frame than you're holding a masculine frame in that debate. But here's another clip with Coach uh, Greg Adams, and so before this, because the clips are kind of out of order. I want to play this because there's some things I want to talk about, and it builds on the narrative here. But this comes, coach took a shot at him on purpose, and this is when this is after Hafeez started. He kind of brought up religion, and he kind of started talking about religion and so forth, and about how God being in your marriage, and you being aligned with God, and so forth and so on. And so he took a shot at Coach, and so Coach took a little jab back. This is a jab back. This is what I feel.
You most people on the West Coast, many people in the East Midwest, there's no God in marriage. So
Well,
we
break
know.
Wait a minute, hold on.
One more thing I'll add to that, and I hope I don't mean to offend you. There's no God in marriage.
Okay, so whenever someone says, "I don't mean to offend you," prepare to be offended. Okay, let me just say that here. So again, this is Coach taking a little jab at him, because Hafiz had been taking jabs at him the whole time. So I wasn't even mad at Coach for doing this or whatever. So I'm gonna back it up here again.
One more thing I'll add to that, and I hope I don't mean to offend you. There's no God in marriage in the United States, so that's kind of misleading, and people will find that out if your marriage is destroyed. You go back to your pastor and you say, "Hey, my marriage is being destroyed." He has no power over that because it is a state agreement. So I will bring you back to make sure you understand, and I counsel men. There's no God in marriage. That's been gone. Listen, it was an old idea. It's absolutely gone unless you live in an American South. You most people on the West Coast, many people in the East Midwest, there's no God in marriage. So we
break
know
that down. What do you mean there's no God in
and-
marriage?
Okay, so before he finishes, so to make that blanket outright statement, even though in a sense he's speaking generally, he knows that's going to trigger Hafiz even more, because he's this man of God. So definitely going to trigger him. And uh, it is true, because in a certain sense, everything goes out the window when the divorce is when excuse me when the marriage is over. The love goes out the window. All the God talk, and God has nothing to do with the marriage once it goes bad and you're going to get the divorce, no matter how it started. Hell, even if you want to debate, because some Muslims are this way. Some Muslims are saying that, or some Muslims believe you don't have to get married, have a secular marriage, or a state sanctioned marriage, or a governmental sanctioned marriage, right? It's just the vows that you take before Allah, and you go through the rites that you have to in terms of a Islamic nikah or marriage, and that's all you need. But in this society, those religious marriages are almost not even recognized in most states. So, is there God in marriage? He's right there. But Hafiz wants to try to. He's going to move the goalpost a little bit. But let's keep going.
there's no God in marriage. So people get married. One of
Mm-hmm.
the things that they will do is they will seek counsel of the church. And then, as such, the guys will give them guidance and it will be biblical principle. However, they will say, we can't do anything until you sign this state sponsored agreement with family law context. All right. They're not going to have a Bible in there. They're not going to have a Bible in that divorce court. The judge is not going to ask you, do you like God? And what about God in your marriage? There will be no context to that. And such, what is the overriding principle here?
Does he
Your
have a
marriage
point there,
is
Hafeez?
state funded,
No,
not God
like
funded.
he just made a random point that
I didn't make it
absolutely-
random. I told you that
So-
this
so
will offend
first,
you,
was I-
and
what
it's
did I
now
say?
offended you.
What did I say? No, it didn't offend me. You're just wrong. Let me make.
See, see, hold on. See, Coach knew it. He said, "I said it wasn't going to offend you, and now it's offended you." But he knew it was going to offend him, and it did offend him. So, Hafiz tried to say, "Oh no, it didn't offend me. You're just wrong." Hafiz didn't disprove his point, though.
Let me say what
I'm
I
wrong.
said.
Wait.
Let me finish.
I'm
Oh, no,
absolutely right.
Let me finish.
There's no God in the marriage in the
Let me
United
finish,
States.
and you can talk. Let me finish. And
No,
you can
hold
talk.
for a second.
Let me finish.
Are you going to
Let
say
me-
there's
can I
no
finish,
God
Adam?
in marriage in the United States?
Coach,
Let
finish
me-
your point. You're saying
Yeah,
there's no God in marriage in the United States.
Correct.
Got it.
That was
Hafeez,
his point. So
go
I
ahead.
can now I'm going to talk. So I made a point, and I said, if your truth aligns with God, that truth is most powerful. That's what I said. If your truth aligns with God, meaning the word that you speak aligns with God, those words are the most powerful. Then he made a point saying there is no God in marriage. So first, that's a semantic thing because God is everywhere.
Coach.
Whether God chooses to supervene in things or not, I will never be the person that says God is not here. I will never be the person that says God is not present here. Could we argue that is God blessing every American Western marriage? Of course not.
See, he changed the argument. Coach Greg Adams said there's no God in marriage. Now he says, now Hafiz is saying, oh, can I say that God is not blessing every marriage? How do you know? How do you know God is blessing any marriage, even yours? He changed the
Of
argument.
course, God is not blessing every American, but God is definitely in my parents' marriage. So when you say there is absolute statements, there is no God in marriage. False. Correct. There is no God in some marriages. There is no God in most marriages in regards to by being there no God, meaning that God's not blessing it, right? So if you're saying that God is not blessing what's happening in most marriages, that is a true statement. But to say there is no God in marriages, period, that is a false statement because God is in my marriage and God is also in my parents' marriage. And I will continue to say, when it comes to even understanding the ideas of God, God gives human beings free will. It's a very simple concept. You can freely sin or you can freely obey. And God, like a good father, if you want to touch the stove, you can touch the stove. And so to me, I just think when people make statements like this, how do you expect people to feel? There is
I
no
don't expect
God.
anybody to feel. I want them to know. I want them to understand. We want them to know we can't feel anything.
I'm talking, and then you get the opportunity to talk.
Look at
So
Coach.
to me, it's how do you expect people to react? And so my biggest thing is that what I'm only communicating in regards to the marriages is that if you are a man, do your due diligence. Be able to see if she fits your life. Be able to see what is her family background. You can't protect yourself 100% from business failure, from friendship failure, from anything in life. But there is wisdom, there is godly principles that you can adhere to that can benefit you. But there's no absolute guarantees that everything in life will be successful. No one's teaching anybody that.
But and I'm
Okay, let me say this because see, he was so emotional that Coach Greg he told on himself. He said, "How do you expect someone to feel?" And Coach said, he interjected, "I don't expect for anybody to feel any kind of way. I expect for you, to think or whatever." And then Hafiz, he got the point, but with this whole, I'm talking, hey, how disrespectful this guy. Maybe Coach Greg ain't old enough to be his father because I think on this podcast, Coach Greg said he's uh 42, so they're like 10 years apart, but he's older than you. He has a gray beard. He's earned a level of respect from you because uh, he's preceded you. He's experienced more than you. So you as a man can't even respect another man who's older than you. And this is why I say I think there's some resentment to his father because um eh, he would have never done Jordan Peterson that way because he almost worshipped. Well, I'm gonna say it. He like worships the ground that this guy walks on, as we'll see as we keep going here. But you can't even respect another black man and talking about how you want to do all this and so forth for the black community. And he simply was trying to correct you that he's not trying. He doesn't care about how anyone feels. It's not about feeling. It's about what you think, what's right, how you're able to process information as a logical person. That's what you because that's one of the things that you say. You just you try to look at things and analyze it and so forth and come up with solutions. Well, a solutions oriented person is not worried about feelings. You know what I mean? I remember I worked this job once, and we had like it's like a switch, like Cisco switches and stuff like this. They had like a switch stack to go down. And so I'm troubleshooting the switch stack, and at the time I was a director of IT and the president. So I reported to the president of the company, and so the president is like looking over my shoulder while I'm troubleshooting or whatever, right? This is a new president. It's like first time something happened with this guy. Uh, while he first, like his first time anything like that ever happened while he was since he had became the president. So he's like looking over my shoulder and all this kind of stuff or whatever. And then um so he's like asking me questions, and I was like ignoring him because I was like, hey, look, I'm trying to, then I finally said, hey, look, I can't talk to you and figure out the issue. When I figure out the issue, I'll come let you know what was the issue and how I resolved it, whatever. So then he leaves, whatever. So figure out what the issue with the switch stack, whatever. So I went over and talked to him. Say, hey, look, I can't work this way. No emotion, none of this kind of stuff. And he was like, hey, I can't work that way. If some issue goes down, I can't have you over my back asking me questions. I said, I need to dedicate my time and attention to the issue, solving the problem. I don't have time to, answer your questions so you can, put out a statement to make people feel that I'm doing X, Y, and Z or whatever. And so he said that because he had said that before. He said, I feel like you don't have a sense of urgency. I said, well, how does that supposed to look? I asked him, how does me having a sense of urgency, how does that supposed to look to you? And then he kind of sat there. So it's not about feeling. I said, I don't have no feeling when it comes to this. I'm here to solve problems. I said, I solve problems. That's what I do. I fix things. I solve issues. I said, so when I'm in the middle of trying to solve an issue, I'm not worried about how you feel. I look to other people, whatever it is. And from that point forward, he never did that again. And it's just a thing that you have to say that it's not about feelings. It's about getting a job done. If I'm here to do a job, I'm here to do a job. I don't care about how people feel about me because there was other things that happened at the job. If people feel this way about you, I don't care. I don't care how anybody feels about me here. I'm here to do a job. I do my job well, and then I go home. And and I think he was very he didn't understand how I could talk to him that way because I literally told him, it was like, this job doesn't define me. And when I go home, that's what defines me. With the people that know me and care about me, that's who I care about. That's what I care about. This is a means to an end. And speaking of which, corporate America, I hate corporate America. Corporate America is not for the black man. I mean, there is so much backstabbing, and it's just a cutthroat environment. But not to digress, let's keep going here.
Not the most religious person here, so let me just give.
Okay, yeah. Before Adam asks his question, Adam asked an excellent question. And then he lets Hafiz off the hook, and I hated that he didn't allow Hafiz to answer this question. But I think he knew Hafiz wasn't going to be able to answer this question, and then just moved on. But this is an excellent question. There was no way Hafiz is going to answer it, or there's no way he could answer it.
That
Not at
disclaimer
all.
out there, you either.
Right.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
how, like, I feel like God is all faith. It's
Yeah.
all, I believe in this, and no matter what you tell me, you're not going to convince me otherwise, because this is what I believe. I'm sure that there's tons of marriages out there that they believe, they go to church every Sunday, and then next thing you know, they get divorced, and God was in their marriage. So I'm just trying to establish what a godless marriage is, or God-filled marriage is, like how that genuinely curiosity, like how that works, because he's saying no. I think what Coach is basically saying is like, look, I don't care if you go to church every Sunday or not. At the end of the day, your marriage is between you, your significant other, and the
Right
state.
here on earth.
Forget about it.
Not in the clouds. And we
Okay, see, before Coach goes on, because he kind of start talking, and then Adam allowed the question to get away. He wanted Hafiz to explain, how do you know what's a godless marriage or a God-filled marriage? And Adam stated, and of course the white girl on the panel, they both stated that they are not religious. They are not into any denomination or any faith or belief or anything like that. So pretty much Hafiz is the only one that has any sort of faith or belief in God on the panel. But uh, you know, Adam let the question go away because Coach asked him, "Did you ask Adam a question?" He's going to ask him, "Did you ask Adam a question?" Or excuse me, Hafiz a question, and then Adam lets it go. Here we go.
earth.
Forget about it.
Not in the clouds. And we
That's
talk,
what he's. That's essentially
did you
what he's
ask
saying.
him a question, or
no,
do you want to
I'm just bringing this
we
out to
tell
the
people
panel.
what we tell people is that hope is not a strategy. All right, hope is not a strategy in anything. I hope my business goes well. I hope I don't get injured today. I hope I succeed today. We tell people real life principles. All right, we don't live in the clouds. We live here on earth, whether you believe this is heaven or hell. So I want you guys to understand you're dealing with earth here.
Are
and
you,
this is a reality.
are
This
you
is
a
reality.
believer?
Absolutely not. No.
You're not. You're not a believer of God.
No.
Okay, but
Were you
obviously,
ever?
Hafiz, you are.
Yeah, and
Were
so
you ever a believer?
So how
or
can
no?
you say that?
Here's the deal. What tends to happen is
So see, he's making comments on this breath. Hafiz is making comments on this breath when he's asked, "Were you ever a believer?" He's like, "No, not all, not all." And then the producer in the back was saying, "Well, how could you say that there's no God in marriage?" Because I guess the only way that you can evaluate whether or not people are living by godly principles is if that you are that particular thing. Like, I don't have to be a Buddhist to understand Buddhist principles, and then to see people who claim to be Buddhists and then say, "Hey, wait a minute, these Buddhist principles, you're not enacting those particular principles." I mean, I had a this is hilarious. One job I worked at one time, I had a supervisor who was Jewish. She would, I mean, let the Yom Kippurs come in, and you name it, Rosh Hashanah, whatever those holidays were, whatever that stuff was, or whatever. She would do all that, but that chick would come in every day with sausage biscuits, uh, uh, bacon biscuits, and I'm looking at her like, what? Because I'm like, okay, well, I know you're Jewish, you're Jewish, you don't eat pork. You know what I mean? Like, how does that work? You know what I mean? But she would be killing the pork, and but she do all the other stuff. I can't eat bread, but she be eating pork. I was like, yo, wait, what? So for Lent, I think that Lent, they can't eat bread or unleavened bread or something to that effect. I can't remember now, but um yeah. So she would like not be eating bread. So she would have a this is the weirdest thing I'm telling you. She would have a sausage biscuit. It's Lent. She would say she would throw the biscuit away and then eat the sausage. I lied to you not, man. This was some crazy stuff that I'm seeing. So I wasn't Jewish, but I understood certain Jewish principles, so I can see him like, well, being Jewish is not in your life. It doesn't appear really. I mean, like, how do you take part of the book and not all of the book? I don't get it. And again, like I said, there's a lot of quote unquote Muslim rappers and Muslims out here in the entertainment and smoking weed and doing everything else. And I'm just like, hey, look, wait a minute, there's a problem here. We need to talk about it. I'm going to talk about it. But let me just keep going here.
is
Yep.
what tends to happen is people are introduced to things based on someone else's biases. Okay, and those biases are introduced to children and so forth and so on. So yes, at some point, that was the only story I knew until I investigated on my own, decided as a man what principles to stand on, and then realized I don't live by hope. I don't live by cope. I live with what's real here.
Okay.
And let's talk about what's real instead of the mystique of this damn thing here. What's real is hope is not a strategy.
So if you
I
don't,
love it. Can I address it?
Yeah,
real
yeah. Go
quick?
ahead.
Yeah. So first and foremost, like I said, it's very interesting. I've always told you, you got to hear someone's background, and then you know where they lean. That's where you know where their advice gears towards. So
We're gonna hear about your background too in a second, brother.
it's such a even when I talk about God, like the idea of God in his brain is not the idea I'm talking about. It's this interesting verse in the Bible. I won't get too lost in the sauce in the book of Isaiah where God is where somebody's like farming and he's talking about the intricacies of farming. And he says, even that wisdom comes from God. God is not the God of get married happily ever after. That's foolishness. Is God gives you wisdom. What is the wisdom? Actually do premarital counseling. What is the wisdom? Actually be able to decide, okay, if things don't work out, what are we going to do? Where are the kids going to go? What's the money going to go? Things going to work out. Who's going to be the primary breadwinner? Who's not? God gives you the wisdom to be intelligent, to be able to navigate. Hope is not a strategy. 100% right. Hope is not a strategy. But God's message is not just simply blind hope. It's wisdom. Literally, Jesus said, be as wise as a serpent, but as innocent as a dove. You have to understand how to, what does a serpent do? He's able to navigate on this earth. So 100% right. No one's teaching hope as a strategy. That's a straw man argument. True godly wisdom is relevant. True godly wisdom is what made Adam a millionaire. True godly wisdom is what made Patrick Bet David build this amazing company. It's actual practical step-by-step guidance that benefits people's lives. So no one's talking about hope being a strategy. Simply pray to God and your marriage is going to work out. That's foolishness. What did I say? Naivete, nihilism, realism is in the middle. No one's saying being naive. So when I'm talking about godliness in marriage, those are certain principles and wisdoms. Is it going to be that if you follow God, you'll never get a divorce? No. There's nothing in life where nothing bad is gonna happen. You can do everything the right way and the wrong thing can still happen. But does that mean you should do things the wrong way? Absolutely not. And so my biggest thing is that we need to give men as much practical wisdom, and women as well, give them as much practical wisdom that can build a healthy, successful marriage. When he talks about don't get married without leverage, I guarantee if he expounds upon leverage, those are all godly principles. Those are all biblical principles that what he's going to describe in what he defines as leverage, being masculine, you know what I mean, protecting your assets, all the things he would describe as leverage, that is godly wisdom. He may not view it as godly because his view of God is just some old white man in the clouds telling you to simply just do whatever you want, right?
That's a projection. An old white man in the sky, that's a projection, and we'll find out why.
But to me, true godly wisdom is relevant, it's practical, it improves lives because, like Jordan Peterson said, it's in line with the truth. And if you're in line with the truth, they can give you the best case scenario. Not a perfect life, but the best life.
You should have been a preacher, brother. You could have killed that thing. I appreciate that. Let me ask Ali a question.
Okay, let me go back. I want to go back here real quick.
Wisdom is relevant. True godly wisdom is what made is God gives you wisdom. What is the wisdom? Actually do premarital
until I investigated on my own, decided it's real instead of the mystique of this damn thing.
Yeah. So
okay, I wanted to go back here because I wanted to point out that this interview was about 2 hours, a little bit, maybe close to 2 hours. I didn't count. I should have done that. I didn't count, but it's hard for me to listen to this thing to even pull out the clips that I wanted to hear or wanted to discuss. But he from my count, he only quoted one thing out of the maybe two things, maybe, because he just said something about Jesus said, but so I don't really count that. But when you start saying in the book of Isaiah, and then you get the story wrong, you don't even know the story correctly. That's a problem when you say you are a Christian. But on the other hand, you can quote all these different things about what Dr. Jordan Peterson said. Dr. Jordan Peterson said, so who's really you know, who's really your God and what is really your religion if you can't quote the Bible, one book of Isaiah. And I'm going to play it again because I mean, I don't know it. I'm not a Christian, so but this doesn't even sound. There was no wisdom in what he said here because he couldn't even get the story right. Here we go again.
First and foremost, like I said, it's very interesting. I've always told you, you got to hear someone's background, and then
Mm-hmm.
you know where they lean. That's where you know where their advice gears towards. So it's such a even when I talk about God,
Mm-hmm.
like the idea of God in his brain is not the idea I'm talking about. It's this interesting verse in the Bible. I won't get too lost in the sauce in the book of Isaiah, where God is where somebody's like farming, and he's talking about the intricacies of farming. And he says, even that wisdom comes from God. God is not the God of get married happily ever.
Okay, I just wanted you to hear it again. I mean, that was ridiculous. There was a story about some guy farming, and God said that that's wisdom of God. I mean, come on, man. All right, so now now let's get to the crux of what I want to discuss. I'm sorry, we getting to it here. We getting cooking here. So here's what I really want to here's what I really want to touch on because this is where the fanboy stuff comes in. Now, this is from the debate with, or not debate, but interview with Just Pearly Things, and the title of that interview or that particular video is the red pill a trap for men? Okay, that's the title of that particular video, and right away in the interview, right away in the interview, Pearl asked Hafeez a question. And here we go.
Question.
Go ahead.
So here we go.
My first question.
Go ahead.
Would you consider yourself red pill?
Never in a million years.
Never. Why?
Never in a million years.
Why?
I think to me, first and foremost, I think I don't subscribe to any man-made ideology
Okay.
because I think a lot of these ideologies put you in a box.
Mhm.
So I do subscribe to religion, and people can argue whether that's man-made or not.
Mhm.
That's going to be a great conversation, great debate. You get a guy like Sam Harris and Jordan Peterson had a great debate about
Mhm.
that. But in regards to man-made ideologies, I don't really subscribe to them as much, and I don't like to identify myself with something that somebody else has conjured up with their own personal opinion. And
Mhm.
so I think in regards to the red pill is a very interesting space, a lot of interesting characters there. And I think the biggest challenge to me is the phrase that they use is that we're all we're doing is trying to share the truth about fill in the blank, right?
Mhm.
And to
Mhm.
me, it's very, very arrogant as a human being to say I myself am the orator of the truth.
Mhm.
Okay, he said it's very arrogant for a human being to say, I am the orator of the truth.
I know the truth. My studies are the accurate studies.
Mhm.
My ideas are the accurate ideas. I am the only individual who
Mhm.
knows these things. And so to me, that
That's a straw man argument because nobody says, I'm the only one that knows anything. Everybody quotes from other people. He quotes from Jordan Peterson and Dr. David Buss a lot. A lot of the red pill guys, they quote from these guys as well. They quote from the same books that he's read. They quote Jordan Peterson. They quote other people. He just has his own particular bugs, and it came out in this interview as well.
ideology seems very cult like,
Mhm.
in my opinion.
Mhm.
If you believe in them, they give you praise words like, oh, yo, you're red pilled, you're an alpha male, right?
Uh-huh.
And if you disagree with them, they give you the curse words, right? You are blue pilled, you are a beta male, right?
Are you talking about like the comments section?
I'm just talking about just the idea of the
Okay.
philosophy, right?
Okay.
So the people who subscribe to their worldview are red pill individuals, right?
Uh-huh.
Their minds have been opened up to the truth, right?
Mhm.
And the people who disagree with their ideas are considered blue pill, right? You have
Mhm.
rejected the truth, i.e., the matrix, right?
Uh-huh.
The guy in the matrix. He said, I want to go back in the machine, even though I know
Uh-huh.
it. I want to go back in the machine. So to me, that seems very cult-like
Mhm.
in regards to the ideology. And so there's a lot of different reasons why I don't subscribe to it. But those are the few things. I just cannot hold myself to an ideology that a certain
Mhm.
individual or individuals are communicating without understanding the fullness of those ideas.
Mhm.
Okay, so he's talking about the red pill, and he can't subscribe to an ideology that certain individuals or a certain individual, I caught that. And then, or certain individuals, he didn't want to put it on one person, but he has a beef with or he has a bone to pick with the who I guess a lot of people attribute the whole red pill uh stuff with is a guy named Rolo Tomasi. I only know the name just coming into some of these spaces. I don't listen to him or whatever, but I guess doing a little bit of this research for this is, I guess, I learned a little bit more about him than I knew before. But that's who he's talking about in this whole interview with Just Pearl or Just Pearly Things. And Just Pearly Things is a content creator who she leans on the red pill stuff. She's kind of a woman in the red pill adjacent that she kind of talks about, has some of the same talking points and some of the same beliefs to try to um, get men, just advocate for men is one of the things that she says. So he says it's arrogant for a human being. So it's arrogant for a human being to say that they are the orator of the truth. Actually, you know what? Let me just play it again because I want you to hear this, because this is the whole argument here with him and his bone to pick with some of this stuff. But this is what I have. This is the issue that I have with him.
My first question.
Go ahead.
Would you consider yourself red pill?
Never in a million years.
Never.
Never
Why?
in a million years.
Why?
I think, to me, first and foremost, I think I don't subscribe.
Notice the little laugh there. He was really nervous in this interview. I don't know which interview was done first, because this interview there was a lot of chopping going on. If you watch the interview, you could see that there was a lot of editing going on. I don't know I don't know if there were significant things being said, or if there were pauses and breaks and they were trying to chop it up to make it flow a little bit better. But there was a lot of there were a lot of there were a lot of edits in this particular video that I could see. And I don't know if this was done before or after the Coach Greg thing, but he was more nervous in this interview than he was on the other interview with Greg Adams and Adam and the other guy, or the other girl. But yeah, so anyway, I'm sorry to digress. I just noticed it again that there's a bunch of edits in this video. But anyway, so yeah, so he's yeah, here we go. Here's his answer.
To any man-made ideology,
Okay.
because I think a lot of these ideologies put you in a box.
Mhm.
So I do subscribe to religion, and people can argue whether that's man-made or not.
Mhm.
That's going to be a great conversation, great debate. You get a guy like Sam Harris and Jordan Peterson had a great debate about
Mhm.
that. But in regards to man-made ideologies, I don't really subscribe to them as much, and I don't like to identify myself with something that somebody else has conjured up with their own personal opinion. And
Mhm.
so I think in regards to the red pill is a very interesting space, a lot of interesting characters there. And I think the biggest challenge to me is the phrase that they use is that we're all we're doing is trying to share the truth about fill in the blank, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
to me, it's very, very arrogant as a human being to say I myself am the orator of the truth.
Mhm.
I know the truth. My studies are the accurate studies.
Mhm.
My ideas are the accurate ideas. I am the only individual who
Mhm.
knows these things. And so to me, that ideology seems very cult like,
Mhm.
in my opinion.
Mhm.
If you believe in them, they give you praise words like, oh, you're
Okay, I'm going to stop it there. So I just wanted to get that again, that he has a problem with, it's arrogant for a human being to say that they know the truth. They're the orator of the truth. I have the accurate studies. Um, so like I said, keep that in mind, because he let's just go ahead and play it. So I'm going to go ahead and play this next clip here. And this is back on the original with Coach Greg Adams and Hafeez and these guys. It's coming from here though.
Do you want your daughter to get married? Yes or no? Or you're not going to answer that question?
She can get married if she would like to.
Do you want her to?
I don't think it's necessary in this age. No,
For a woman?
For a woman.
absolutely not.
Okay.
You don't
Really?
think it's necessary for women to get married?
Why?
Western marriage, there's no longer a necessity for it. unless you were looking out for something in the future, potentially if you want to have children. So if she said, hey, I'm looking to get married, I want to have kids, I'd probably say the best context would be to get married. But that doesn't mean get married to anyone. You see what I mean? There are ways that I can level this. Do I want her to get married? Yes or no? Well, who is she marrying? When?
Yeah,
where?
but
How
there's-
long?
yeah,
There's
but-
a whole bunch
It's a
of
nuance.
context.
But to me,
it's just not a yes or no question.
But
So-
Hey, Coach, this is an L for Coach actually, because it is a yes or no question. You either want your daughter to get married or not. Don't don't add all these who is she getting married to and all that stuff. Okay, that's kind of some of the stuff that we'll see women do or whatever. It's like, well, I'm just not going to submit to any man. Well, what does he make? What is it? Who is he? No, just either yes, either yes. Like you asked the question, for me, yes, I want my daughters to get married. Obviously, I don't want them to get married to, some dude strung out on drugs or whatever. Like those things are silly. Just answer the question, yes or no. I want my daughter to get married or not. It's not a hard question, Coach. I mean, I think Coach took an L on this, but the way Hafeez came off, yes or no. Are you going to answer the question? You know what I mean? Like, who are you talking to, dude? Like, this dude is crazy, man.
Hafeez, what's your issue with this? Go ahead.
so it's always an interesting conversation because to me, like one of the things I'm obsessed with, and Dr. Peterson talks about this so well, is that the more your words are in line with the truth, the more powerful those words are. And I don't know where you are, if you believe in God or not. I don't know who kind of person you are, but like when you line your words up with God, like that's when to me your words have the most weight. Dr. Peterson, that's why I feel like he's so powerful. His words transcend humanity and it speaks on this divine level. And so to me, when you're
Okay, did you hear that? Let me back it up in case you missed that. Let me back it up here so you can hear it again. This is the issue right here. And again, this clip comes before there's no God in marriage clip. So they're a little bit out of order, but I wanted to play that.
about this so well, is that the more your words are in line with the truth, the more powerful those words are. And I don't know where you are, if you believe in God or not. I don't know who kind of person you are, but like when you line your words up with God, like that's when to me your words have the most weight. Dr. Peterson, that's why I feel like he's so powerful. His words transcend humanity and it speaks on this divine level. And so to me, when you're giving
Did you hear that? Jordan Peterson is so powerful because his words transcend humanity and speak on a divine level. And this is idolatry. This is the point why I was saying the video that I did last year about not being a fanboy, and at the time I just called him a fanboy. And I did the live stream. I didn't think anything of it. I knew in the back of my, and I think I even said it in that video, that being a fanboy will lead to idolatry. And this is what's happened here with this brother. He's idolized Jordan Peterson so much, and that's the whole point. Idolized. You've made him an idol. That's idolatry. You've gotten into idolatry to where this guy is his words transcend humanity and are divine. I'm gonna play it again because this is this is why I was saying you can't be a fanboy because you can't be objective. There's no way he'd ever see anything wrong with Jordan Peterson.
me, like one of the things I'm obsessed with, and Dr. Peterson talks about this so well, is
Hold on.
that the
He said, it stood out to me just. I'm obsessed. I'm sorry. Sometimes I hear something. I'm looking for something, and I hear something else. I'm like, I didn't even hear the obsessed the first few times that I played this. But anyway, let me go back.
in conversation because to me, like one of the things I'm obsessed with, and Dr. Peterson talks about this so well, is that the more your words are in line with the truth, the more powerful those words are. And I don't know where you are, if you believe in God or not. I don't know who kind of person you are, but like when you line your words up with God, Like that's when to me your words have the most weight. Dr. Peterson, that's why I feel like he's so powerful. His words transcend humanity and it speaks on this divine level. And so to me, when you're giving advice, your advice has to be as in line with what God believes the world should run as possible. And so to me, the best advice benefits men and benefits women. That's the best advice. To your opinion, we had 70 years of advice only benefiting women and men suffering as because of it. That is a lie. That is wrong. And the opposite extreme is wrong as well. A world where it all benefits men and the women don't benefit, it's wrong. That's why it's about the balance. And so to me, I'm very curious about, I love her questions because it was like it's not a gotcha question. It was a genuine serious question. Shout out my guy AMS. I love AMS. He did a video about advice I would give to my daughter where he actually answers the questions directly. And so to me, I'm very interested in those questions because like when I would watch Kevin Samuels and God rest the dead, and it was so powerful because he would always push women to being married because he knew the beauty and the value and the protection and the safety like being a woman and being married. Nobody wants their daughter to be 41 years old, single, baby mama of 3. Nobody wants that for their daughter, especially if they want kids. So to me, I think the part of the conversation needs to be, is this information benefiting both human beings? When you're on Team Men, it only needs to benefit Team Men. If you're on Team Republican, it only needs to benefit Team Republican. If you're on Team America, it has to benefit all Americans. If you're on Team Human, it has to benefit both males and females. So that's why I loved her questions, because I think the best, like, I can give my hardcore advice to benefit men, and I know without a shadow of a doubt, the most hardcore advice that benefits men simultaneously benefits women.
Okay, so that dude's off his rocker. He has absolutely no idea what he's talking about. That the best advice is the advice that benefits both men and women. Even in the Bible, there's certain things that are specific to men, and there's certain other things that are specific to women. So are those parts of the Bible not the best advice in his mind? This dude he doesn't know the Bible enough. He knows Jordan Peterson and these guys more than he knows the Bible, and it's clear. And let's keep going here. Now, this was wild here, and like I said, sometimes sometimes you hate to be right, but man, this is wild. Let's play this here. This is I don't know what was going on here. This looks like Jordan Peterson was going to some type of he was going to be on some type of lecture tour, and I guess he and Hafeez have become a lot closer since last year, because last year he only interviewed him, and that was like a Zoom video interview, and so it looks like he may knows him a lot. He's a lot closer to him now, and he's met him in person, obviously, and that's where this video is. But I want you to listen to what he's saying.
Dear Heavenly Father, God, thank you so much for Dr. Peterson. Thank you so much for his wisdom, his grace. God, I pray that you keep him safe. But God, I pray that you keep him healthy. God, I pray that you give him the strength during this tour to give your word and the wisdom to the people. Be with his family, be with Tammy, be with Michaela, be with everybody, Lord. And thank you so much for the life of Dr. Peterson, and give him many, many years and many, many more tours. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Thank you.
Dr.
Thank
Peterson,
you.
I
Very
love
good.
you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for
Yep,
everything.
you bet.
Okay, did you guys
Dear
catch
Heavenly
that? Did you guys catch that? Okay, let's play it again, because he's saying he's thanking God for Dr. Jordan Peterson. Let's play it again here.
Father, God, thank you so much for Dr. Peterson. Thank you so much for his wisdom, his grace. God, I pray that you keep him safe. But God, I pray that you keep him healthy. God, I pray that you give him the strength.
Okay, let's back it up again. Here we go.
Dear Heavenly Father, God, thank you so much for Dr. Peterson. Thank you so much for his wisdom, his grace. God, I pray that you keep him safe. But God, I pray that you keep him healthy. God, I pray that you give him the strength during this tour to give your word and the wisdom to the people. Be with his family, be with Tammy, be with Michaela, be with everybody, Lord. And thank you so much for the life of Dr. Peterson and give him many, many years and many, many more tours. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you.
Dr.
Thank
Peterson,
you.
I
Very
love
good.
you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for
Yep.
everything.
You bet.
Okay, that's cringy. Okay. Thank you for the life of Dr. Jordan Peterson, his wisdom, his grace. Thank you for this guy acts as if Jordan Peterson is the second coming of Jesus or something. So he doesn't subscribe to man-made ideologies, yet he's thanking God for a man and saying that this man's words transcends humanity and almost divine. Like that's idolatry, man. And again, I said it in the, I'm gonna actually pull that video up, the live stream that I did, to where I said how disrespectful it was for him to um, place Dr. Jordan Peterson, a man that he had never met, on his Mount Rushmore of men, and he listed him before his father. Man, like, yo, that's crazy. But anyway, so let's go. Let's keep going. We got more. We got a little bit more here.
Trying to communicate.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, I realized that if we're trying to really help society, one man can't have 10, 15, 20 girls. It's
Yeah.
not going to help the
Wait a minute.
average dude
Hold
in
up.
Indiana. It's
Wrong video. Sorry. These things are not labeled in what you call it. Now I'm confused. Hold on.
That polygamy could be a
Nah. Hold on.
true that you're thinking of.
I think one of the biggest conversations that is not discussed is how marriage has changed from the 90s till today.
Okay, go on.
If you look up the marriage, the divorce rates,
Uh-huh.
divorce
Wait.
rates have been decreasing from the 1990s until today. There's a lot of different
Mhm.
studies.
Okay. Wait a minute. This
Here.
was it.
So
It's
my dad,
starting off now.
when I told my dad that
Okay. So wait a minute. Hold on.
going forward.
No, because polygamy would destabilize society, and this is what blows my mind about the red pill and the red pill. Some of the red pill
Okay. Wait a minute.
trying
What?
to really help society. One man can't have 10, 15, 20 girls. It's
Yeah.
not going to help us. For the long
Yeah,
span of a
yeah.
friendship,
Yeah.
I naturally gravitate towards this
So it's
person.
kind of like there's like jealousy that builds up because he
100%.
doesn't. What's the most wives? One of your.
Wait a minute. That is backwards.
Always talking to
Okay.
100% because you called me
Okay,
out and you
okay.
said it's a movie.
Okay,
2.5% say no. One man, one woman.
Mhm. What do you think if it was like they could have multiple
Okay. Here it
forward?
is.
Yeah,
Okay. All right.
Do you think that polygamy could be a solution going forward?
no, because polygamy would destabilize society, and this is what blows my mind about the red pill and the red pill. Some of the red pill guys always
Wait a
talking
minute.
about how
This
a high.
is. Wait a minute. Is that the same clip? Wait a minute. I'm trying to find. I'm trying to find where he talks about his background.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So that's what I'm trying to communicate.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, I realized that if we're trying to really help society, one man can't have 10, 15, 20 girls.
Yeah.
It's not going to help us.
Yeah.
It's not going to help the average dude in Indiana. It's not fair.
So my dad, when I told my dad that pros and cons, or does he usually have a one favorite that's like always the
You're the smart wife. You're intelligent.
Okay, yeah, here it is. This all right. This is it. This is it. All right, I had him right. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Struggle streaming. But anyway, so
Yeah.
in this particular portion of the Just Pearly things interview, um, Hafiz talks about his background. I suspected it last year because of the name Hafiz. I know it's an Arabic name. I know it's not Nigerian. And it was like his name is Baku. I'm like, okay, that sounds African. And I understood back then he was Nigerian, and I suspected, okay, he's Nigerian. I suspected he's Muslim. I didn't say anything. I didn't have any proof. I didn't, 'cause, I'm not gonna go through his 1,000 videos to find it. Whatever. So in this interview, he states it, and this is the clip where he states his background, and he talks about his family upbringing and how he was raised. And I'll just continue once he finishes. Okay, so this is it right here.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So that's what I'm trying to communicate.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, I realized that if we're trying to really help society, one man can't have 10, 15, 20 girls. It's
Yeah.
not going to help us.
Yeah.
It's not going to help that average dude in Indiana. It's not fair.
So my dad, when I told my dad that, he was like, "Yeah, have these guys try one wife before they try four."
And let's talk about it. Let's.
Yeah.
So to me, my number one, my
Yeah.
second pushback, one of my many 75 pushbacks on the red pill ideology
Uh-huh.
is like, if you've had one wife,
Uh-huh.
having three to me is like torture. I'm being honest with you. Not
And see, how would he know? He's never experienced it. He's only been married for 1 year. So this is why I said, yeah, I think is he ever already having problems? Because i- you don't know. You've never experienced having three wives. And girlfriends ain't the same as wives. Trust me. Having having plenty of girlfriends ain't the same because you have no responsibility over those girlfriends. I don't care what dudes in the red pill say, and some of the guys, well, you take care of. She's my girlfriend. I don't have no responsibility over her. Whatever. Like, stop it, guys. Some of these guys will say they're red pill, and then they'll say something that some of the other guys, well, even what they say is blue pill, because that would, and I'm not either one, honestly. I guess with Islam, portions of what Islam is blue pill and portion is red pill. So I guess what the dudes call it purple pill, whatever. I don't know. I don't get into all that stuff, but I don't ascribe to be either. So let's just point that out. But there's some ideologies. Obviously, I'm Muslim. I have to get married. So some guys say that's blue pill. Fine, whatever. I don't care. Okay. Some say it's the red pill stuff in certain regards of just okay, the man's in terms of leadership in the family, it's the man, and I don't know, I'm not gonna get into all that. I'm sorry, I'm digressing, but anyway, so this guy is saying it's like having a headache to have three wives. You don't know. You should be in your honeymoon phase. Year one, you ain't doing nothing but having sex and not partying, but going on trips, and you just building all these memories with your wife. You guys probably ain't getting pregnant no time soon. I wouldn't advise it. I don't advise any of my kids to get pregnant within the first couple of years. I'm like, take that time and get a chance to know your husband or your wife. Do all the things that you want to do, build all those memories, because once you start having children, things slow down and things change. People don't act like it does, but when you have to start taking lugging kids all over the place on vacation, and they're little, and especially the woman, if she's nursing, breastfeeding or whatever, she doesn't want, I mean, like, come on, like, stuff changes and things slow down. So before you had them kids, get a chance to build that real relationship and strong bond with your spouse, because that should take you through the tough times. Don't have children too early, and a lot of times people have children way too early. So you should have no headaches. You shouldn't even be thinking about, so like, he's over here saying this on this regard, but on the other podcast with Greg Adams, it's you act like there was no issue with marriage or whatever. But he's only saying this now because what I think is the issue with his father, and we're gonna see. Let's keep going.
Not saying my one wife is torture. I'm saying having three, because
Yeah,
those
you are.
three are competing for your time,
Yeah.
energy, and attention. My name is Hafeez. Hafeez is not an African name for
Mhm.
ignorant people. It's not a Nigerian name for highly educated people. It's an Arabic name.
Uh-huh.
My family is all Arabic. Most of every male in my family, my dad's side of the family, is Muslim.
He said Arabic. They're if anything, they're African and they speak Arabic. But he said he's Nigerian. I don't know how that works. So I don't know why he would have called them Arabic unless he means they speak Arabic. But Arab and Arab is a certain thing. Matter of fact, really, the Arabs came from Yemen, what's known as present day Yemen. Those were the original Arabs or whatever. But they throw Arab all the way out as far as Morocco, Tunisia, Egypt, and some of those North African countries or whatever. But to say his whole family is Arab, I mean, there are Africans in in Arabian in the Arabian countries who speak Arabic, and they've been there for generations, just like um, the Africans here. We speak English. We've been here for generations. Or in France, or uh, hell, all around the globe. I mean, really. So I don't know if that's what he meant, but it's weird. But he stated how he's Nigerian.
I come from a polygamous background. The reality of the matter
Let me back it up here. So he when he's stating that he's Muslim, or his family's Muslim, I should say.
to people is an Arabic name.
Uh-huh.
My family is all Arabic. Most of every male in my family, my dad's side of the family, is Muslim. I come from a polygamous background. The reality of the matter is polygamous families have issues. They have issues. It's not freaking bliss.
What issues are they? Like, because I don't know anyone that personally like grew up with that. So
Okay.
I'm just curious.
Give you an example. You have a woman like you.
Okay.
You're the smart wife. You're intelligent. You're submissive.
Uh-huh.
You do everything the right way.
Uh-huh.
You're attractive. Everything is great.
Mhm.
Then the husband says, "I want to spend more time with you.
Uh-huh.
I want your kids to go to the best schools. I want your kids to have the
Oh,
nicest
so
thing."
it's like
Favoritism.
he'll have
Yeah.
a favorite.
Okay, so from an Islamic, and I'm probably gonna just need to do this thing on polygyny, and uh, just from a Islamic standpoint. I know there's probably videos on it, but I'm talking about in terms of these kinds of things, because what he's saying is totally they may do it, but it's actually not allowed to do it. You can have a favorite. Obviously, you can't pick and choose. If you can't pick and choose which wife you're gonna have more affinity to, but you can't show that you can't be disparate in your time and gifts or treatments or whatever, money. So all this stuff about I'm going to spend more time with this wife. You can't do that. They both get an equal share of your time. You can't say this one's children are going to private school or the best schools, but then your kids over here got to go to the crap schools. I don't know. So this is where I'm saying I'm picking up he has issue with his father. I don't know which side he was on. I don't know if he was on the favorite wife side, or the privileged kid side, or the not so favorite wife side, or the unprivileged kid side. But this sounds personal. This isn't just throwing this random out in the air, because he said he grew up in this. He's seen favoritism. So he's seen this, and a lot of times wives project this quote unquote favoritism onto the man. But obviously if 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 there's one wife who is on the same page with the man, and then you are a little bit more rebellious, who do you think he's going to favor more? The one that's rebellious, or the one that's on his team, that's down with the program? I mean, it's not even, it shouldn't even be. I mean, that's common sense. It's just really common sense. She's on his team. You're over here trying to buck the system. I mean, come on. That's like with a teacher when we talk about the teacher's pet. Well, dang, the student who comes in quiet, behaves, does their work, of course the teacher's gonna love that particular student. But the student who's over here cutting up, I gotta constantly say something, constantly disrupting class. Like, yo, this dude get on my nerves. So, that's obvious. So, but he's saying this is from experience.
Not how the other women gonna feel about you. They're gonna hate you.
Does it come and go? Because I'd imagine like there'd be seasons because everyone's got pros and cons. Or does he usually have a one favorite that's like always the favorite?
You can't have 10 women and not have one favorite.
Yeah.
And that's no problem.
Well, I'm just thinking.
And that's allowed. You can have favorites in Islam. You can have a favorite. Well, you just can't again. You just can't with your time. With your time, you can't and obviously gifts and so forth. You can't go out here and get your favorite a diamond ring or something, for example, and then you know you get this other one a costume jewelry ring. You can't do stuff like that. It has to be like my imam, he would explain. He says it got to be like windshield wipers. Windshield wipers move the same way. So you got two wives, you got to do two of everything. So you take a vacation. Okay, one wife wants to go to Hawaii, another one wants to go to Jamaica. Okay, that's fine, but then it has to be the same amount of, you would have to be the same amount of time per se. right? You don't have to say, okay, well, because I took this one to Jamaica, I got to take you to Jamaica, and she didn't want to go. So it has to be those types of things. But you could certainly have more affection for one than the other, and that's fine. But this guy's, so he has a bug to pick with this. So he has an issue with this particular thing because he said he grew up in it. So is this one of the reasons why when he seemed to have a problem with Coach Greg Adam when he said he was exposed to Christianity when he was young, but when he became a man, he did his own investigation. He said, "Nah, I'm done. I ain't with nothing." But Hafiz did the same thing. Hafiz he grew up. He said his all the men on his father's side were Muslim, so he grew up in a polygynous situation. His father he didn't want to talk about his father too much because she asked, and he was like, I can't talk about my father publicly, but he already said, hey, he grew up in it. So is this the reason why he said, okay, you know what? When I became a man, I just said, you know what? I did my own investigation. I said, okay, I don't want to go with Islam. I'm going to go with Christianity. I think he went with Christianity for another reason, but we'll talk about that in a second.
Like in a friend group, like I'll have one favorite, but then she might annoy me, and then like it'll switch.
But you deep down inside know there's a friend that you naturally get along with more than everybody else. It may
That's the
be
same.
seasonal
That's the same with wives, dude.
when you get along with somebody else, but over the long
Yeah,
span of
yeah,
a
yeah,
friendship,
yeah.
I naturally gravitate towards this
So it's
person.
kind of like there's like jealousy that builds up because he
100%.
doesn't. What's the most wives? One of your.
Like I said, it's not. I can't talk on behalf of my family because my dad doesn't want me talking about these things publicly.
Oh, okay.
But it.
What's the most wives you've seen, or like
So
personally know someone?
people don't. Um, in Nigeria, I'm Nigerian. There's three major tribes.
Uh-huh.
There's Yoruba, there's Igbo, and there's Hausa.
Hmm.
Most Nigerians that you meet in the Western world are Yoruba and Igbo.
I've met Igbo.
You
Yeah,
rarely
yeah,
meet
yeah.
Hausa. You will never. They stay in Nigeria.
Uh-huh.
Hausas are predominantly Muslims. Those guys,
Uh-huh.
20,
Mhm.
25, 30, like those, they will keep on taking and keep on taking. But
Mhm.
some of them, like the religion holds them back. But you got to think about it.
Mhm.
The religion caps them at 4, but how many people really follow their religion all the way? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah, and see, yeah, you could say that, but in Nigeria, I doubt it. I don't think there's enough resources there for somebody to take 20 wives. That just sounds silly. That just sounds hyperbolic. Hopefully, he's just being hyperbolic, but I think it's deeper than that. I think it's a deep resentment that he has for polygyny, and because of however he grew up. But anyway, this is my observation.
Christianity said you shouldn't have sex
No,
until
no,
marriage.
that's
Who really is gonna stop?
okay, because I live in
Yeah, so apparently you didn't because he said he chose Christianity when he was 19, but that's when he went to college and that's when he started to get girls. I mean, go figure. You started to get girls right when you decided to become a Christian. So we know he didn't stop getting girls this whole time. So he's been living pretty much the life of a hypocrite. If you've been getting girls up until last year, and even if you had sex with your wife before you got pregnant, see, just Pearly should have asked him. I would have asked him. I would have been like, hey, is that how you rolled? You know what I mean? Like, now that you're saying it, did you follow it? Because he seems like a hypocrite because he's saying it, but I don't believe that he went without having sex when he just started to get girls in college because he played college football.
London,
Yeah,
and so like there's a lot of I've had so many Nigerians on my.
yeah.
I feel like Nigerian people just really like to share their opinions. I don't know why.
Okay,
This
hold
is
on.
It's
I
just
think
our
they're gonna
culture.
the
talk
Anyone
Igbo,
but
about
the
something
best.
especially.
silly.
I've had so many Igbo. Is that a different?
Yeah, they just
Because it's in London. Because what'll happen is they're like he'll spoil. Like this is they said it like because I've heard him.
And
Uh
that's
huh.
why I'm just like, if you're really trying to help men,
Uh huh.
okay. Let me.
then
I want to hear what she said because she was saying something silly
do.
about some crazy
Yeah,
uncle
yeah,
of
yeah.
mine.
So unfortunately, part of the culture, the polygamous culture. So yeah, to the original question, it
Yeah.
destabilizes society, and
Uh
that's
huh.
why I'm just like, if you're really trying to help men,
Uh huh.
you know that you need to tell, hey man, you guys need one.
Uh huh.
It then so the other guys can have more. Think about it,
Yeah.
like you said, you want to incentivize women,
Mhm.
incentivize what you want to see more. If the women realize that, hey, you're not going to be so and so's side chick, you're
Yeah.
not going to be so and so's fourth and fifth wife.
Mhm.
You're going to have to lower your standards.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
This guy has absolutely no clue of what he's talking about. He's telling women to lower their standards, and he's seen Kevin Samuels for a whole 2 years talking to women and they're like they're not going to lower their standards. They're not going to get married. Like, what are you talking about? Whether or not there's so and so side chick, and there's no way to enforce this but governmental policies. So he said he didn't want the government in the lives of people. But in order to enforce this, you would literally have to do this. You would literally have to be like some of the Arab countries or some of the Muslim countries, in terms of their if they catch you committing adultery, then you're stoned to death or whatever it is, whatever it is they might do, whatever, you know what I mean, like whatever punishments that they do. And I'm not going to get into that. I'll get off on a tangent. But in order to enforce that, you would have to the government would have to enact rules, because women are just not going to do it on their own. If they have the chance to be Drake or Future or whoever's side chick, as opposed to going over here with the plumber, they already think the plumber is beneath them. So what is he talking? Like, this dude has no clue of what he's talking about. This is why he's living in a la la land and not living in reality. The reality says women today have choice. And as long as they have choice, they are choosing not to deal with the blue collar guys because they feel that they are above the blue collar guys. Because the blue collar guys aren't as educated as them, even if they make as much money as them. The blue collar guys are not as cultured as them because or not as educated as them because they don't have a degree or whatever. We've seen this playbook, and it doesn't work this way.
It will change them, like you said. It will change them. But if every woman knows, I can be Future's number 17. I can
Yeah.
be so and so number 15. Like, then it's going to continue to create this issue that we're having in today's world.
And he's not marrying them anyway. So that whole thing. And I'm gonna play this, and I'm gonna talk about it. And I don't want to get too far off, but I'm gonna discuss it because this thing about po- polygyny destabilizes. I heard Andrew Tate say this. It destabilizes society. Why aren't the Middle Eastern countries destabilized? I mean, please tell me why. We have example right in their face. We have real evidence, real time in their faces about how. And I'm not saying polygyny will work to solve this situation, because I don't think it will. Because in the black community, you know, and this is one of the things that some of the pro black or pan African or conscious dudes, they like to espouse that, oh well, polygyny, taking more. Yeah, logically it makes sense. If there's more black women than black men, then in order for every black woman to have a black man, then he you guys are gonna have to accept being, co-wives. That's logical, but it's not practical because they don't want to marry one plumber, let alone share that plumber with another wife. Like, come on, man. Come on, guys. This is not rocket science. I saw some very smart people talking about, is polygyny a solution for the issue? No, it absolutely is not. And I might just have to just do that and just go on that. But anyway, let's play this here.
Value man exercise.
All right, this is talking about polygyny, the whole
Do you
polygyny
think
thing.
that polygamy could be a solution going forward?
Yeah,
No.
no, because polygamy would destabilize society, and this is what blows my mind about the red pill and the red
Uh-huh.
pill. Some of the red pill guys always talking about how a high value man exercises options.
Uh-huh.
Imagine
And that's Kevin Samuels, man. Just call his name. He's the one that said that, but he didn't say that it's a solution for the problem. He was just simply saying that it is what it is. Dang, it's always been that way. That's all he was saying. He never said that he advocated for men to do that. He was just saying, women, that guy, if he's made himself into the top guy, you may have to share him because he can do that. He has the leverage to do that. Okay, let's take Floyd Mayweather for instance. Floyd Mayweather, he's not married, but he's taking care of like 20 women, at 15 to 20 women. I can't remember what the number is now, but um the meaning, they all live with him. They all understand, hey, we're with him. These other quote unquote 15 other co-wives, we all share him. He can afford to take care of all of us, and we're fine with it. That is a high value man exercising his options. He simply told them this is what it's going to be, accept it or not. When he Floyd Mayweather had all kinds of problems when he tried to do the monogamy thing. Okay, I'm with this one, and but he still had women on the side, and they couldn't take it. So now it's just simpler for him. His life has been a whole lot less stressful. I can guarantee now that these 15, 20 women know what it is. So it does not destabilize society because we have a working example of it present day and for thousands of years. You would know that if you study instead of just thinking you know everything. Now, even the example that he's going to use, I'm gonna let him say it, then I'm gonna debunk that.
think I,
That's how that's how I started. Was because my dad's in the like in that category, and I called him. I'm like, Dad, where are your hoes? You're supposed to have some.
oh Lord Jesus.
I was so confused. I was like, I didn't grow up with it like
You
this.
listen.
So this is a different world. Like
We got to do a
when
lot of
when they were explaining it, I was like, wow, this is very different than what
because
I.
you drank the Kool-Aid. You're fully in it. But
I didn't.
hopefully by the end of today's
You know, you realize
conversation.
I don't agree with cheating.
Okay.
I've never said I agreed with cheating.
I just say you drank the Kool-Aid.
No, 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 no.
That's what it means, dude. Come on, stop. See, he's so like passive aggressive. Like said she drunk the Kool-Aid, and she said she's telling you, no, I really didn't. I don't agree with it. But when you say drink the Kool-Aid, that's exactly what it means. It means you suck down all of their talking points and you believe everything they told you. Come on, man.
That's
You drank some of the
doesn't that mean like then like I'm a part? Doesn't that mean then I have a different opinion on it? I
No,
thought that's
it
what that
means you
meant when you said you
no.
drank the Kool-Aid.
What I'm saying is that there's certain
Uh-huh.
ideologies and beliefs that you have that
Uh-huh.
I when I hear you say them, I'm like, dang, I remember that video where somebody uttered that idea, and I'm like, man, did she copy and paste this or did she genuinely believe it?
Mhm.
And so
But he was
going
so
back to the point,
Well,
he was so condescending in this interview. Oh my gosh.
if a thing's
I would have stopped it and kicked him out. I really would have. I'm like, man, if you don't get up out of here, go ahead, just bounce. I'm like, and she's more feminine than that, but man, I would have kicked that dude out.
makes sense to me. If someone has a good argument, like why would I not repeat it? If I've researched it and I think it's a good
we've
argument.
just seen some of the things you haven't researched.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
my rule of thumb is if
Like the definition of a praxeology.
100%,
Okay, okay.
100%, because you call
And she didn't use the word. She said they used the word, and he knows this. He changes arguments to try to act like he's winning the argument.
me
Okay,
out, and you
okay,
said it's not an
okay.
ideology. You said it's a praxeology. You even know
No,
what
she
that word
said
even
they
means.
Uh-huh.
said.
So
Off the top of my head, no, you're right. I just
okay,
had a general idea.
okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Okay.
So in regards, you asked me about
Mhm.
polygamy.
Mhm.
It destabilizes society. Here's why.
Mhm.
Think about a guy like an Andrew Tate.
Mhm.
Andrew Tate is tall, he's handsome, he's successful.
Mhm.
If Andrew Tate was like, I want everybody's girl, he can Genghis Khan this whole planet. He could.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
could
yeah.
Genghis Khan this whole planet, and
Yeah, yeah.
like Genghis Khan did.
Uh-huh.
And
Okay, so on the other interview, with Coach Greg Adams and so forth, or maybe it was this one. I can't remember now. Anyway, he said that if Drake wanted to take everybody's girl, he actually argued the other side of this. He said some of the red pill guys are like, Drake wants to take my girl, she's just gonna go with him. Now he's saying if Andrew Tate wants to take your girl, he just steamroll your girl like Genghis Khan.
here's the reality for
Mhm.
the average guy.
Mhm.
It doesn't benefit him
Uh-huh.
because even if you've seen freaking Braveheart, right? Obviously, it's a fictional movie, but it's an example with Prima Nocte going on in Scotland.
Mhm.
There was a time in the day where if a dude wanted your woman, they pull up and they take your woman. What are you gonna do about it?
We're not in that day and time. See, the arguments that he's making are so childish. Oh my gosh. He's this is when you have no experience. So the knowledge that you have doesn't translate or it doesn't transform into wisdom. You just have a bunch of knowledge. You have a bunch of information, I should say, not even really knowledge, but you have a bunch of information, but you don't know how to apply it. So it's no wisdom coming from it. But let's just talk about this Genghis Khan thing. Okay, so they're talking about obviously in the Genghis Khan days, they were talking about how Genghis Khan, like 1/8 of the or some I don't know what the number is. One out of every so many people on the planet today can trace their lineage back to Genghis Khan. That's how many concubines he had, and so forth and so on. And it's like, oh, that doesn't benefit and it destabilizes. Then he thinking Andrew Tate could do that. Andrew Tate will be able to get some girls. He's not going to be able to get them all. This is not going to happen. Like, dude, you're saying more red pill foolishness than anybody when you're saying this because it's just not true. You know. uh, Okay, so anyway, let's get back to it. So Genghis Khan. Okay, so he was the great Khan, had a lot of concubines, wives, or whatever it was, whatever you want to call them. But that didn't mean that other men didn't have women or wives, fathered children. Even we have even when we have this society. Okay, even he said it doesn't benefit. So let's look at the women. Let's look at the women that Floyd Mayweather has again. Even before they got with Floyd Mayweather, they probably wasn't gonna. Well, let me. There's no probably into it. They weren't getting with the average guy. They just weren't. The average guy wasn't going to be able to get those girls. There's still going to be average girls for average guys to get at some point. This is where this thing is. This is where this is silly. The biggest there's a bigger threat to men getting women than polygyny, and that's like technology. I was just reading an article about a matter of fact, I'm going to do a video on it about how sperm banks have very little. They have a problem with black male donors, which is a good thing. Black men are not donating their sperm to sperm banks, which is a great thing. And they're upset about it. Of course, blaming black men again is black men's fault. But this one, fine, good, blame us because this is a good thing. Because people want to start families without a man. They just want to get the man's sperm and then have babies and not have the man. No, you don't. We don't roll that way. So good thing, brothers. Don't donate your sperm to no sperm bank. But that's a bigger issue than anything. If you want fathers in the life, you got to do all that. He doesn't have those worldviews. He's not thinking about that. That's a bigger issue than polygyny because you have working. There's average dudes in Arabia that are getting married still. What are you talking about? In fact, because the world, and he's not even accounting for this, in the world, there's more women than men everywhere on the planet. Okay, man, and in a situation where there's more men than women in a particular area, because of technology now, you can actually find a place where there's actually more women than men and get you a wife from there. People, somebody who would, and all these guys are ragging on the passport brother guys or whatever. Well, dang, if the passport brothers can't get a wife here, man, go somewhere else and get you a wife if they want a wife. My goodness, it's not that hard. If women here are making it hard for themselves to get married to average brothers are going other places to get a wife, and that's their right to do so. All this stuff about it destabilizes societies. Show me one society where it's been destabilized, and I can show you at least five or six to where polygyny is a thing and it hasn't destabilized those societies. In fact, Andrew Tate said the same thing, and then he praises the Muslim countries. It is so these people. I don't. Is he said polygyny destabilizes societies. Is it destabilized in Nigeria? Nigeria is destabilized for other things, and poverty is the main one. So is it the poverty that destabilizes Nigeria, or is it the polygyny? You know what I mean? Like this dude. Oh my God!
I'm in charge.
Oh,
And
I've
so
never seen Braveheart, but
you're
okay,
missing out
okay,
on
okay.
2.5%
I don't really
of your
watch
life.
TV, but
It's a movie.
okay,
2.5% of your
okay,
life is
okay.
missing. You haven't watched Braveheart.
Uh-huh.
My point of it, and this is why, like, I had so much respect for when Andrew Tate was talking about male promiscuity wasn't a good thing,
Mhm.
because as a guy, if guys wanted to take all,
Mhm.
they could
They
play
can't.
that Genghis Khan
No,
game,
they can't.
and that would disrupt society.
No, they can't, dude. They can't do that today. I don't know what is this dude talking about.
And you think men today are
Yeah.
complaining about 1/3 of men don't have sex and all the Chads and Tyrones are having sex and not me. Let polygamy be normal. Let the game let the
Polygyny actually could be normalized and it not be an issue. The issue, because right now it is not normalized, and you're seeing the same thing. If it was so, dudes can have sex and freely, but again, you'd have to get government involved. But the reason why we're seeing what we're seeing is because because people have choices. So in order to do what you're saying, because women are still not going. Okay, polygyny is not allowed now. So I can't even rationally damn break this silly argument down because it's so silly. But anyway, polygyny is not allowed now, and we're seeing the issue. So he's saying is the issue is going to get worse if you allow polygyny. No, because polygyny caps everything, and for one, and then those guys have to marry them. They don't just get to have sex with them and then just send them on or whatever. They actually have to take responsibility for them because you get married, dude. So right now you have what do you call it? De facto polygyny, where a guy again like Floyd Mayweather, but he's taking care of them. So those are in effect like his wives or whatever. We see it out there in Utah, or we did, you know what I mean? Or well, we still do, kind of. I guess I don't know what they're doing out there, but anyway, they were taking a bunch of wives. It's 15, 13 wives or whatever. Guys were still able to get married because there's always more women than men. And what was the other thing he just said? Hold on, let me play it again.
Let the floodwaters really let free. And so to me, I truly believe it destabilizes society and to create an equal opportunity for all men. We have to be able to say no, one man, one woman.
No, see, look at that, one man, one woman. Idiot. That means that's going to be control and oh god, I can't. So he doesn't want governmental control. How do you say one man, one woman? Government has to come in and mandate that. But then so you have to take away people's choice. You have to take away women's choice to say, you know what? Instead of being with one man, I'd rather share this man with this other woman over here. We got working examples of it in the Middle East, and it's not destabilized. I don't. Maybe that's because they are not poor either. But the society is those societies actually have better morals than these societies. They're going the other way now. But they have I don't understand why, and she's smart. I don't understand why she just didn't bring up that example. It was like there's working examples of it in the Middle East. What are you talking about? And in some African countries, there's working examples of it where it's legal.
What do you think if it was like they could have multiple, but it would be like capped? You like don't some
That's
religions?
Islam. That's Islam.
Yeah,
Islam
yeah.
is up to 4 wives.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you thought that was like, would you feel the same way? Because wouldn't it be? It would be
He gonna
like
change the he gonna
polygamy, but
change
it
the
would be like
argument.
on steroid. Like no Genghis Khans out here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's Islam's argument, right?
Yeah.
Is the Islamic community's argument is that, but it
Yeah.
also destabilizes society.
No,
Just
it
think about
doesn't.
it right now.
Yeah.
You're a numbers girl. Like I said, you're smarter than me.
Yeah.
So he comes into some dumb argument that ain't even the argument over there. This is dumb. I wish you would. Oh God.
Let's say we had 100 women
Uh-huh.
and there was 99 men. Let's say
And that's not how society is. 100 women, 99 men. Come on, dude. And then Islam doesn't say that you have to take 4 wives. It says you take up to 4 wives. But that's not how society. He doesn't. This is such a stupid argument because that's not how it is.
99 men in society, right? 100 women, 99
Oh.
men. How can every man get 4 wives? How many wives? How many men can?
Okay, so what if we had 400 women and 100 men? 400 women, 100 men. Since you just want to throw out arbitrary, silly numbers.
Get
Yeah.
4
So
wives
then you
before
would still have the problem.
you know what I mean?
with-
So it
that's
eventually,
kind of what it is now, though.
and you
Yeah.
told me that's the
Yeah.
problem in
Yeah,
today's
yeah,
world.
yeah, you're right.
And that's why I'm
Yeah.
so passionate. I'm like, yo, if you truly believe the
Yeah.
problem in today's world is
Uh.
promiscuity, is a few women going to all the Chaz and Tyrone. How
Yeah.
can you ascribe to this high value man exercise option and be able to have multiple women?
I don't
Not saying-
subscribe to that. Yeah.
Not you, of
God,
course
You when
you,
you
man.
say you, I think
I'm
because
talking
like
to
when
people.
you say you, like I think you're talking about
I'm
me
not,
because
I'm
it's
not.
me and you.
No,
So
no,
like if
no,
I
I'm
say
sorry.
you, like I would think that
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm talking to the
yeah.
people.
Oh,
We're just
okay.
talking to the
Okay.
people. You know what I
Okay.
mean? I want to
Yeah,
make
yeah,
the people
yeah,
feel.
yeah.
I want to ignore
Yeah.
the beautiful people on the
Yeah.
camera.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So that's what I'm trying to communicate.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, I realized that if we're trying to really help society, one man can't have 10, 15, 20 girls.
Yeah.
It's not going to help us.
Yeah.
It's not going to help the average dude in Indiana. It's not fair.
Life ain't fair. That's for one. I don't know what you're talking about. It's not fair. Life ain't fair. And for two, for two, even if you try to cap that, women are still gonna have choice. They still may not choose the dude in Indiana. Damn, you can't. There's no way to do that without governmental control, and it has to be a strict control on people's lives. As long as people have choice, then you're gonna have that, because maybe those 15, 20 women want to go with that Chad or Tyrone, as he said, and that is what it is. But saying, okay, this guy can legally marry four, which most of the time they don't want to do. Andrew Tate is not going to want to marry four women. He's just not. He's, you name it. All the richest guys in the world, Jeff Bezos, and they'll play with more than one woman, but to marry four, they're not going to do that, even if polygyny is allowed, because it's not ingrained in this society anyway. Hey, let me play some of these other things, how this damn interview went,
One talking point that isn't true that you're thinking of?
I think one of the biggest
so she kept trying to get him to be specific about the pill talking points that he disagreed with, and just like the rest of the interviews or whatever that he did, he wants a monologue. He doesn't want a dialogue. He wants to spend a bunch of time rambling on and not answering questions directly, and going on this grand philosophy as if, hey, look at me, I'm smart. That's how he came off, and that's how he comes off here.
conversations that is not discussed is how marriage has changed from the 90s till today.
Okay, go on.
If you look up the marriage, the divorce rates, divorce rates have been decreasing from the 1990s until today. There's a lot of different studies and a lot of different analyzation.
Go on.
A lot of different. So, are you listening? Or are you trying to talk?
I'm listening.
I'm curious.
I'm listening.
Because you kind of seem like you're waiting for me to stop talking so you can say something.
No, I'm
Well, that's how dialogue works. You say something, you stop talking, and then she says something.
listening. Go ahead.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm listening. Go ahead.
Okay.
This
Hey,
this right
I'm
here is
listening.
this right here. Look
So
at this little uncomfortable laugh here. This portion of the interview made the rest of the interview very uncomfortable. He was even more uncomfortable the rest of the interview. He never got over this, and he shouldn't have done this.
okay.
I'm listening.
So, in regards to the divorce,
His little nervous laugh there. He never got over this. The rest of the interview just went terribly. I'm gonna play, and I'm just playing some of the stuff
let me
just to show you.
and because you made the wife school. I truly believe women like you. This is why I wanted to talk to you. I wanted to say this to you personally. I didn't want to do it off camera. I want to say it to you personally because I think it's make great content. Women like you have the power to change everything. You made a point initially. You said you believe women can make a change. I truly believe you are so correct. Women such as yourself wield so much power to make a true lasting change in this society. Women such as yourself have so much of power and ability to make a true lasting change in this world.
Yeah, I agree.
And so to me, my biggest thing is that I want women such as yourself living out your full potential and your full skill sets to be able to truly transform the world. And so to me, when you made the wife school reference, I was like, man, I'm glad you went there.
Yeah.
Because the first reason it was, are you married?
No. So that's why I need wife school. That's why I'm putting it together.
No. Let me look.
Yeah.
If you really want to help women,
Yeah.
I can tell you exactly what to do.
Okay, wait a minute. I thought that was arrogant. I thought you don't follow man-made ideology, so why should anybody follow your man-made ideology? I thought it was arrogant for a man to say, "Hey, I know uh, how to do this or how to do that. I have the correct information. I have the right, uh, I have the solution." Isn't that arrogant for a human to do that? Now you have the answers for women to get married.
That will be able to help women. Here's the reality. When it comes to here's the reality.
Here, let me do it again.
I can tell you exactly what to do
Uh-huh.
that will be able to help women.
Uh-huh.
Here's the reality.
Uh-huh.
When
That's arrogant, brother, for a human to
it
do
comes to
that.
male content,
Mhm.
this is not important.
Mhm.
They actually think this is a sign of weakness,
Mhm.
but this is not important. They don't give a dang if you're married or not.
Mhm.
Men don't care.
Mhm.
All men care is, can
Mhm.
you have sex? Can you get laid?
Uh-huh.
If you are a man and you can show and prove to people that you can have sex with other women,
Mhm.
other men will respect you. I'm not making the rules.
Mhm.
That is what happens in male content. So
Mhm.
male content creators don't have to be married for other men to respect them.
Mhm.
If they show some receipts, they show girls on yachts, they show girls on parties, and they show whatever it may be, other guys will respect them and listen to them, because that is the litmus test for success in men. Not my rules, is what's going on in today's world. Women is different. Women respect this. Women listen to this. When you're able to be like, yo, you women, you can either be like this, like me, or be like the streets.
Yeah.
When you're able to do stuff like that,
You're not familiar with my content. I don't really give advice, but okay.
I know, but
go ahead. Go ahead.
you said wife school.
Yeah, but it's not taught by me.
Huh?
It's not taught by me.
Who's gonna build the wife school?
Yeah, I'll put.
Okay, so let's go to this other stuff. I just want to show these things real quick, and then I'm going to get to the last thing, which is, uh, I think why he has an issue, his real issue with the red pill. That'll be the last thing that we'll do here. Okay, where are we going here? Wait a minute. This damn thing. Chrome. All right, these are some other come on, this thing. Now there we go. Some other portions of this of the interview with him and just Pearly things that where she just kind of had to let him know how rude he was being.
You brought up about the
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on.
the issues between marriage, and you believe your solution is a academy for women.
Well,
why won't you get the women who want to actually learn? Why won't you get the healthy, positive women
that's like,
that want to
the
learn?
way I think about it is, I'm gonna have more screen time anyway. And then you get like it's like you always want a contrast of personalities when you're trying to make it funny. And so it's like
is it funny or is it to be helped?
I think
What's the purpose of the school?
I think you can do both. And maybe you feel like it can only be one.
No.
Maybe
Stop playing this game.
can you let me? You keep
Go ahead.
cutting me
I'm
off.
sorry.
It's my
I'm sorry.
channel.
It's actually my channel today. It's my channel
not,
today.
It's not like, and it's like
I mean, look how rude the
think-
dude is being. Let's keep going.
This is how it works. There is audience capture. Here, perfect example. If I am going to make Chick-fil-A, what kind of food do I want? I want chicken. My mindset going here is I want chicken. If Chick-fil-A starts serving seafood, I don't want seafood from Chick-fil-A. So Chick-fil-A has captured an audience that wants these things. So for content creators, if your primary form of content is, let's say, playing video games, you're like, you know what? I'm gonna do video game content to be able to reach the masses, and all of a sudden, I'm gonna then teach my rocket science on the side.
But it wouldn't just be hoes. That's what I'm telling you. I'm doing it too. I'm the main character on my channel.
No,
I'm the main character. Yes, I am.
You literally just said it's you, your friend, and a bunch of hoes. You're not being serious.
Yeah.
Let's keep. So let's stop playing this game. This is why
it's not a game.
This is why the red pill people, you guys are acting dumb. You know what you're doing. You know you're doing this for the views and the clicks and the likes. Stop playing these games.
Look at this guy.
Said
Oh my
it's
God.
going to be an entertaining show.
You're bringing hoes who don't want to learn. Come on.
How do you know they don't want to learn?
You said that biggest 305.
Yes.
God, this dude.
Yes.
You can trick the people in there. You're not tricking me.
I'm not tricking anybody. Why do you keep like accusing me of things?
This guy, this is
like,
cringy. Yeah. Okay, so let's keep going. I'm gonna go over here too.
You can't build that like nothing.
But if
no one's doing a charity here.
If you're telling me my goal is to help men, and I need to make money, but the way I'm making money is hurting men, You're
I'm not hurting men. You don't.
who
You
said
said
you? I didn't
yeah.
say you,
Okay.
girl. Why are you taking this
Yeah,
personally?
no, but I'm
Why are
like,
you taking this
I'm
personally?
not. It's,
Am I hitting a sore spot? Is
I,
this how you? Is this what bothers you at night?
no, you're not hitting
Are
anything.
you sure?
Yeah,
You're having
chill
a good
out,
time.
chill
You're having
out,
a
She
good
chill
like
time.
out.
she
I'm
like
You're having a
chill
good
out.
time.
She got to tell the
You're having
dude
a
to
good
But
chill
it's
out.
time.
like, it's like,
She got to tell the dude to chill out, man. That was this thing was cringy. But anyway, so his whole one of his whole things is about a marital contract. He didn't have he didn't get a prenup with his wife. They got a marital contract, and I'm not even gonna play that. He got a marital. I'll just explain it. He got a marital contract, and basically, you know, each party, which this falls along the lines of Islam. So he got this from Islam, right? The families come up with a marital contract to where the woman and the man, they both put down their expectations within the marriage. And because just Pearly was stating, oh, that's going to increase the divorce rates, which it will, because based upon what he said. So he said if the wife says, "Hey, I want to have 5 kids," and this is the example that he used with just Pearly, you want to have 5 kids. Well, the man expects sex a certain amount of times a week or whatever, or he expects also that the wife doesn't get fat during the marriage. Now, if either violates the uh, terms of the marital contract, in a sense, in Islam, the marriage could be null and void or whatever, right? And he was saying, no, well, you just don't end it or whatever. It was like, well, what is the purpose of the marital contract if there's not going to be a consequence for breaking it? And see, he talks so much and he doesn't think things through that your marital contract is not a great idea in and of itself. Because, okay, you break the marital contract, then what is the wife to do? Just accept it? And he was like, oh, well, that's for the family to decide. And well, yeah, if they want to say, hey, you come back home because now he didn't hold up his end of the bargain, then that's essentially you being divorced, dude. But anyway, so here's the real reason why I think part of why he's upset with Jordan. I mean, not Jordan Peterson, but the guy Rollo Tomasi, because of some of the things that I guess that Rollo did a couple of he had a couple of live streams that I saw. I haven't even listened to them. I don't know what they said. I'm not going to listen to them. Definitely not now. They're just too long. Um, I didn't think I didn't really catch it until this. I listened to the interview first time, just listen to it and whatever, and then I started listening to it, pull out stuff that I wanted to talk about, and then I caught it where he was like, okay, they were talking about Rollo Tomasi, and then he made references to him, but then didn't want to say his name again. And he was like, "Oh well, I don't want to make reference to it because he'll make videos or he'll make a reaction." And then I heard it that time, and I was like, "Wait a minute." So then I started searching. Okay, Rolo Tomasi, Hafeez, roommates or whatever, and just went to Rolo's YouTube page, and then I saw it. Um, I saw it here. Wait a minute. Yeah, I need to share the audio. No, I need to do this first. All right. So I saw this one, Hypergamy, Rollo Tomasi versus Jordan Peterson. And then I saw this one, Christians choke on the red pill. And then here's a different one from 21 Studios or whatever, Rollo Tomasi on Jordan Peterson. And I was like, oh, okay. So this was like 4 minutes. So I was like, all right, I'll listen to that one. And let me play it here. I gotta do this. I guess I gotta stop sharing and then come back. All right, where is it at? Here it is. So let's get that going here. So I'm gonna just let this play.
Jordan B. Peterson. Someone asked that in the comments.
What are my thoughts on Jordan B. Peterson? I think the man is absolutely brilliant. I think from his from what I've seen of him, and from what I understand why he is sort of the sweetheart of a lot of guys in the red pill right now, in the manosphere right now, because he's standing up against that transgenderism, and that's great. And I agree 100% with what he says about his evaluations, I guess, with transgender nonsense that's going on college campuses. I think that it's a crime. Well, it would be a crime if he were to lose his job over that, because we need to, like I said, we need to test ideas in the crucible of open discussion rather than shouting them down or silencing them. I think that Jordan B. Peterson and I probably share a lot of the same ideas when it comes to stuff like that. Obviously, very well versed statistically and biologically and stuff. If there is one area that I disagree with him on, it is he's very blue pill. And I hate to say that, but
he's still clinging to it.
He's still clinging to that blue pill in the same way that a lot of the MRAs I know are very, we want egalitarian equalism, and that's an ideal when it's not. I also understand, whenever I listen to the guy and I listen to some of the stuff that comes out of his mouth, and it's a lot of the same gender tropes that I hear coming from a feminine primary or feminine imperative, people who promote that. And I think
Okay, so that's what I wanted to. That's the portion that I'm not gonna play it all. We're already over 2 hours here, but yeah. So basically, he called Jordan Peterson blue pill, and I would suspect that in the live stream that he did on Jordan Peterson, he probably went further, and he did obviously I showed the live stream that he did on Hafeez himself. So that's where Hafeez got that. Oh well, I don't want to say his name. He'll make a reaction or whatever. Um, you know, he'll react to it. Let's see here. Shoot. Yeah, he said, if I say his name, he'll make a reaction. This one here. So yeah, so he was talking. I was trying to breeze through it to see if there was anything I could pull out real quick, but I didn't have time to listen to it all or whatever. But anyway, so I'm gonna play this last thing here, and then just wrap that up. And this is from I did on December 23rd, 2021. It's like, brother, stop being fanboys. And this was about this guy. I never thought I would have to revisit this thing. It was just thought general information for brothers not to be fanboys, because being a fanboy could turn into idolatry, and we see here it has with Hafeez. Anyway, so here it is. Let's listen to this. He's from the roommates. He's introducing Jordan Peterson here.
5 years ago, and I was sitting down and I turned on YouTube, and then all of a sudden I see this thumbnail of this distinguished gentleman on Joe Rogan's podcast, and I said, "Oh, this seemed like an interesting conversation." I clicked on that thumbnail and watched the video, and it absolutely changed my life. The wisdom, the knowledge, the information that this man was sharing, the things that he was talking about, the way he could construct his ideas, it was so absolutely powerful to me. And for the next couple of years, every time this man put out a video, I would watch and consume every piece of content. And I went ahead and I wrote down on a piece of paper. I said, you know what? If anything can happen, what would be an absolute honor is for me to be able to sit down and have a conversation with this man. So I made it one of my life goals. I said, without a shadow of a doubt, I would sit down and have a conversation with this man. And I would always write it down, and I always pray to God, God, give me this opportunity. I'm glad to say, about over 4 years later, my prayers were answered, and I got the opportunity right now to sit down with one of my favorite human beings of all time. This individual is on my Mount Rushmore of people, right besides my father and obviously Gary Vee as well. And I am beyond ecstatic to introduce the audience to this man. And hopefully, the words that he shares today will bless you as much as it has blessed me. So, without further ado, please, guys, welcome to the show, the one and only Dr. Jordan B. Peterson. Jordan.
Okay. All right, let me stop it here before we go on. And I couldn't watch too much more past this when I first saw. Okay, let me I want to talk about. I don't want to hear my comments again. Hold on. I want to get to the part that is what really made me
But
Guy
this
probably
means a
will.
lot to me. This means a lot to me, and I'm super grateful. So, Dr. Peterson, for those who don't know you, can you give a bit of an elevator pitch synopsis about who you are, what you do, and all that good stuff?
okay.
And
All right, that's the part I was wanting to play again because it just took me back. This dude's crying over a dude that you never met up until this point. He had never met him. First time he's ever spoken to him to interview him, and you're crying. And that's, I had the same thoughts then as I do now, obviously, and it's even more. And this is why I was saying, you know, s- you can't be fanboys, especially an emotional one. You have to move off logic and strategy, and 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 especially for someone who's religious, it turns into idolatry. You know, when these people become your idols, then you're moving like this, and this guy is saying how um, Jordan B. Peterson, his words are you know transcend humankind or humanity or whatever, and they're on a divine level and all this kind of silliness. I'm like, wow. So to me, this is one of the reasons. Like I said, with the rejection of his father's religion. Your father was such a smart man. He said all these things about his father. He's smart and this. Well, wouldn't you think your father knew better in terms of a religious system than you? Um, you know, uh, it seemed like there's resentment there. And then the religion that you chose, who do they make? Who is the deity of the religion that you chose? The the picture that we see normally of the who's the deity in that religion is a blonde haired, white eyed picture of who they refer to as Jesus. So then it makes sense to me that the way you put these white men, Gary V is another one that he just stated was on his Mount Rushmore. You got two white men on your Mount Rushmore. You said next to your dad, but I'm just kind of like, I don't know. You know, seems like there's some resentment there in terms of that whole favorites and all that kind of stuff seem personal to me. And choosing this particular religion, because in Islam we don't even deify, the Prophet Muhammad. That is forbidden for us to deify him, to to exalt him to such a level to where we say his words are divine. Like that is shirk for us. That is idolatry. So we can't even do that as Muslims, to exalt the Prophet Muhammad up to a status like that, you know? So he's deifying someone who's not even who's in a sense, and I say contemporary, meaning he's alive during your time. He ain't even somebody that you look back into the past and it can examine his whole life. His whole life is laid out, and you can see what kind of person he was his whole life. You know, you could good, bad, right, or wrong. People may disagree with it or not, but you can at least look back at the life of Jesus and say, "Hey, there were these things, whether people want to say he existed or not, or whatever, real or unreal." Okay, so I'm not going to argue with people about that one. But guess what? We know the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was real. There's no debating that there was a real man in Arabia that lived, and we can go back and look at his life and see we can see how even before he became before prophethood, he was called Al Alamin, the truthful, the this a Siddiq. He was the truthful one. We can go back and look at those types of things. So we could put our hands on his life record and look and see what type of man he was. You can't do that with Jordan Peterson. You only know what you see. You don't know what kind of dude he's been his whole life. You know what I mean? Like this guy is idolizing someone that you have no clue, and you're praying to God, thanking him for Jordan Peterson as if he's some savior for the world. This guy is. I mean, there's not one man that I could say that's done more. He acts like this man Jordan Peterson has done more for him than his father has, right? And I'm not saying that he doesn't pray for his father, but obviously you and your father are, you know, uh, if you think someone's the son of God, it's diametrically opposed to what your father believes. And he said there's God in his father's marriage. Well, you don't think so, because you chose a different God. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not just a different religious system, because if you think God has a son, then you chose a different God, because Allah doesn't have a son. If you say that your father's Muslim, that's what your father believes, that God doesn't have a son. So then, if you chose Christianity and you believe that God has a son, actually you chose a different God than your father. So then you say God was in your mother and your father's marriage. How? You know what I mean? Like this dude is wild. But anyway, I ain't gonna get too far off on that or whatever. But I think there's a lot there's I think he needs. I think at this point it's clear that this brother needs some kind of help. He's way too emotional when he's talking about these things on these stages, and he is supposed to be a advocate for men, and he's supposed to have all these answers for men to do certain things. Okay, obviously in the YouTube space, he's more successful than I am in the YouTube space. Maybe in terms of even monetarily, right? I would probably guess, he got 500,000 subscribers or whatever. I don't know exactly his count or whatever. I've seen other YouTubers and put up how much money they made with just 100,000 subscribers, and you have 5 times as much. So you know, shout more power to you. Okay, on that note, but in terms of life, he has a lot of life to live, and he hasn't lived enough to think that he's the one that's arrogant to think that the life that he's lived up until 32. I've lived more life than him at 32 than he has. I mean, I was already a father by the time I was 32. Had already been married way longer than 1 year. So I had way more experience in those two arenas than he had by the time, he's not a father yet. So in those regards, since being a father is one of the things that he values most, and it would be the honor of his life and all that kind of stuff or whatever. I had done more at 32 than him, and I understood that I had a lot to grow and do, and I didn't know everything. He at 32 believes, okay, I have all the answers to everything. And what some of the people were saying, and I don't wish anything bad on him or anything like that or whatever, but it's like, um I saw a lot of comments or whatever, and it's just like, okay, well, man, it's going to hit him bad if something ever happens to him, like in terms of a divorce or whatever. He's gonna be rocked to the core, because he's you know he's so naive. And I'm not saying that you expect anything bad to happen, you know but when the problems come, and they're going to come, you only been married a year. Again, like I said, this is honeymoon phase. You shouldn't even be thinking. A year in, I'd be like, oh, okay, man, I want four of these. You know what I mean? Like, he talking about, he looking thinking about a headache when I was like, first got married, and it's the first year, and I'm like, well, I can have four of these. You know what I mean? Like, like that's how I'm thinking. Because the first year ain't no problems. First year is all fun. the first year of marriage, I'm like, yo, I can do that. I can get me 4 of these. I'm cool. You know what I mean? But obviously you grow up and you understand that there's a lot more to it. But the first year is all honeymoon phase, and it's all good. And yeah, I wouldn't even thought about a wife being a headache, in terms of the first year or whatever. And again, because it wasn't like a girlfriend, I was like, girlfriend, you say something, you get on, okay, I can send you packing. Wife, different. But anyway, those are my final thoughts, man. I think the brother, he should stop doing debates, or he should stop interviewing. I understand he's trying to get his message out there. I think he should interview people and not get interviewed, because he doesn't, and especially not be on a panel with other people with opposing views. He just should stop doing that, because he can't articulate his point, and he can't do it without getting emotional and downright rude in a lot of cases, especially with just Pearly. And he was talking all this stuff about nihilistic guys in the red pill, and they're looking at the worst case scenarios, and they're looking at, man, and you came off it in both instances. The red pill people conducted themselves better than you. They conducted themselves with more manners, more grace, as you say, than you afforded yourself with. And to be raised by a man, and to come off that emotional about something that wasn't that personal to you, it seems that he has some issues that he hasn't dealt with yet. And I think he needs to take his own advice before he continue to get out here and um, continue to take people's money, because he said he's not about money, but yet he's still charging people for courses and consultations and all this stuff, but he's not about money. And you know he doesn't subscribe to man-made ideologies, yet you're spewing yours, even if you're only quoting Jordan Peterson or David Buss, who again, you can say, hey, they're credentialed, they have their doctorate, they put in the work, they put in the effort and the time or whatever. You could say all that, and I wouldn't disagree with you, but it is not like they are infallible, and then you're only repeating their talking points, and then with your own little spin. Then it becomes your own ideology when you put your spin on it, because you see things from a different light, especially when you're talking about the black community. Because I don't think either one of those guys, you know, looked at the black community and would, maybe what they're saying may help the black community, but I don't think they did it specifically for the black community. And a lot of times our issues aren't the same. Well, it's yeah, well, it is a lot of time. A lot of times our issues aren't the same. Obviously, that's why there's a black manosphere where brothers were like, hey, things weren't being addressed. Obviously, the white guys weren't addressing it, so we have to address certain issues that are specific to black men. And shout out to those brothers who understood that. But anyway, brother he needs to take a step back. I would just say enjoy your wife for the first couple of years, man. Like, what are you doing trying to push this ideology? And it really sounds like he's trying to push being married. Uh, now that he's gotten married, okay, now let me push being married. And that's that probably isn't going to work, especially if you're only telling them you're not showing them a great example by not getting a prenup and all this kind of stuff, and you're just relying on a marital contract. But those are my final thoughts. Peace, Rebel family.